Hello. Hello.
It looks like there's a few unnamed 471. I know. I know. I was just being a funny goober cool gamer. It's a me. We still got a few more minutes, so but since we have people here and there isn't an advertisement running, we'll see how everyone goes with a little game. Okay. Wait, no, that's not how you spell it. I can at least see candy. Oh, I know the long word. I know the long word. I've started having this I've started having this words on stream start up like, you know, at the start of stream and such like that, just to sort of have like a little thing of blah 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 brain. You can do this, brain. You know how to do the words and the things at the time of the place. Started having it play while I'm in the middle of, because I'm just posting in all the other places of, hey, I'm online. Hey, I'm streaming. So, long time no see. It has been a while. It's almost been a week. Like, I will be real with you as well. It was a stressful. Nah, it has to be 4-letter word. So yeah, it was a relatively stressful week as well. From like the last time I was streaming to all of yous as well. We'll get into the yapping in like the next 2 minutes. We'll see how everyone. We'll see. We'll give it a little bit of time because, you know, different peeps and what have you will be getting in here and what have you. So it'll just take a little bit of time. Oh my god, there's like all these email notifications that I have not double checked either, which is a little bit tragic. Oh, it gives me a notification of like new people joining into like the What's Mahoozy stream, but I don't care. Oh my god, wait, hang on, was Hello Kitty Island Adventure free? No, it's It went from $60 to $40. I saw the 0 and I was just like, what in the world? Still paying my $2 to Poly Pizza as support. Good for them. They need all the support they can get. Oh, excuse me. You don't know. No, fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah. How many peeps are... It's very tempting to like go into the blah 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 blah, to go into like the user list and what have you, but I feel like that would be very rude to the lurkers and what have you to do that, and I don't exactly want to. I don't want to make people upsetty spaghetti when I do that, because oh, hang on. There are some details I need to confirm for someone. Oh, shit. I agree. Proceed. Sorry, there is... Okay, so I got something that I'm gonna need to do today. I forgot to do it yesterday because I was an idiot. Ah, silly me! Silly me! Hi, everyone! Welcome! Happy Sunday! It's Sunday for me. It might be Saturday for, you know, some of the viewers here. Because, you know, time zones and all that kind of nonsense will be very different and what have you. Excuse me. So, yeah. February 1st. I'm gonna be frank with you, chat. The last time I was streaming was like Monday, and I was very hesitant about like, you know, doing more streams after that Monday because at the time I didn't know where I was going to be in like the next 2 weeks / like, you know, the remainder of my time. This is like, it's honestly been like, the start of this year had honestly been so fucking stressful. Sorry, I'm like a little bit off center. There we go. So much of this year, like, both, like, domestically and abroad, like, whatever kind of news has just been so fucking depressing that, like, you know, there's people in the States having problems and such, which is, like, you know, my grandparents are having that kind of problem, but then I had, like, but I couldn't, like, you know, I know there's, like, a lot of people online that are, like, you know, doing their support, sort of, like, fuck ICE, and, like, you know, wanting to do what they can to, you know, push it out from like cities and sanctuary states and what have you, living under a bridge. It's not that I was living under a bridge, it's just there was a risk of me living under a bridge was what it was. Like, as much as I would love to, like, you know, be the political activist that some people would want or that the desire for, I kind of needed to get my own house in order. Quite literally, I needed to get my own house in order because my lease, my lease is ending. In the current place that I'm living, it's gonna end February 11th. Now, I knew that for a very long time. I knew that last year when my rent first increased to $510 a week. I was certain I wasn't gonna live in here either when I wasn't given like a raise to, like, you know, counter the $510 a week. I was certain when they wanted to up my rent to $650 a week in this place. There, like, in Australia, like in many states and cities, there is no limit to how much you can increase the rent on a property. There are some people calling for a thing where, because right now in Queensland, unless it's contracted in, they've made it a thing where you cannot increase the rent more than once a year. Like, you can't do it more than, like, you know, once a lease or once a year, whichever is the shorter of the two. So yeah, so, like, we have that in place at the very least. So, like, if rent does get increased on your place, it doesn't, you know, you'll have that rent value for, like, 12 months. They're not gonna be like, oh, hey, this month we've made the rent this, like, you know, X amount of dollars, but then the RBA came back to us and my interest rates have gone up, and because of that, I'm just gonna throw that increase in interest rates on you, the user, or the tenant, so then that way I can keep my cushy property and you deal with, like, you know, the problems of the interest rates because I invested into a property that I've not yet made dividends on yet. Like, But yeah, so they've been able to make a prevention. Hi, cool gamer. Hello there. So yeah, so I knew I wasn't going to be living in this place like when they wanted to up the rent to 650 a week in February. So I was like, nope, I'm putting my notice of leave. And I did that like last November or December. I should like I should have been going for applications and house inspections as early as December. I should have done that, but I was not aware just how problematic it was trying to find a place. Like, I think most of you probably would have picked up on, like, the stresses and, like, my, vapid mind, the loosey nature of me, like, unable to focus and such, especially in, a difficult platformer like Crash Bandicoot. So like 5 weeks till the end of my lease, I was finally back in Australia after being on holiday with my grandfather and family, because my grandfather wanted to organize like, hey, let's go out to sea on a cruise ship for a week. Let's be, taken away from society and like let's the world go by in a week. What could possibly go wrong? In that time, fucking Venezuela gets fucking bombed and their president gets fucking kidnapped by Americans. That was fucking crazy. And then the goal of my grandfather at the time, when the news first dropped, he's just like, oh, we don't know if these bombings were done by the United States. And I'm just sort of like, the U.S. has been threatening them for like months on end. I don't know who the fuck it could be. But yeah, so we had that happen. I get out of the cruise. 5 weeks to go until the end of my lease. I start looking around, and it's like, oh, how bad can it be looking for a place? The first 4 places I look at that was like within like 33% and such were absolutely disgusting Queenslander homes converted into units. They were shit. They were terrible. Like, I hear stories from like some of the Americans where it's like, oh yeah, like if they move out from like a unit or a house and they have carpets, sometimes like they'll just rip the carpet out and replace it with new ones, because that would apparently be like, cheaper or the better alternative than getting like a professional clean or something like that. And I'm just listening to that and I'm just chuckling in my head because I'm like, there is no Australian with like investment properties of like homes or apartment units that would go as far as ripping carpets out and replacing them. They're not doing that. They would more likely just have us get fronted with the bill for having to clean up the carpets and such. And if the carpets turn shit, they turn shit. So yeah, so as the weeks go on, I'm still looking for places, and I start throwing some applications here and there. 4 years ago, I put down 4 applications in, and one of them came back as successful, and I was like, yep, absolutely, I'll take that unit. With 3 weeks left to go, I had 4 applications in, and in rapid succession, one day after the other, it was unsuccessful, unsuccessful, and those were my 2 backup options. Places where I most certainly could pay the rent, and like, they're like, I get the automated email of, oh hey, like, the owner has looked at your application and you were unfortunately unsuccessful. There were a lot of good applications in this, and we hope to help you find a new place to live. It's like, cool, some very vapid sort of, oh, we're sorry you couldn't get this property. Maybe, come back to us and maybe we'll find something for you. And it's like, what the fuck can you find for me that, I've not found? Like, there's not a lot of feedback from real estate agents when you're in an unsuccessful application. It's not like job recruitment where, the job recruiter is like, oh, hey, that job may not have been like successful for you, but I reckon this one will be way more. Like, yeah. So like now with 2 weeks remaining, so like this was last Wednesday, I just honestly I had like 9 applications going out into like different places and such like that, 4 of them being unsuccessful, just trying my fucking darnness to find a place to live before February 11th. At this point, I started looking on like flatmates.com to try and find a place. So then that way, rather than like couch surfing with my sister who already has like a full family of kids and what have you, I would like, bite that bullet and be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go get a house, go into like into a shared apartment situation where I still need to get rid of like most of my stuff, and I would have to be like cramped inside a bedroom with my bed and maybe my office. It would be very, very cramped. That was all what was going off in my head on Wednesday. And I sent, the message on Blue Sky of like, oh, hey, like, due to the circumstances or like the uncertainty of my future, I'm not going to be streaming tonight, and I'm probably not going to be streaming until I have a new place to live. Sorry, I'm just like drinking a soda to wake myself up and also hydrate myself. So, shit, only 10 more days. Exactly 10 bucks. Like, now we're at the 10-day mark. But yeah, so on that Wednesday, one of the applications that I submitted were, like, there were these extra instructions where, I went to this house inspection on the Tuesday, and this Argentinian man was like, hey, welcome. As you inspect this unit, I want you to follow the instructions on my clipboard after you're done, because there's a lot of people looking for places, and we need to be able to like sort of flush out some of like the just sort of the uncommitted kind of applications. So on this clipboard, it essentially writes, "Hi, thank you for applying. Once you have finished your application at this website or this form here, we need you to send a copy of that application to this address here. When you send an email to this address, you are going to put the address as the subject line. You are then going to give us a little blurb about when you first applied for this place, at what time. Then you're going to tell us when you inspected the place, time and place, and then you're going to give us a short blurb describing yourself and your situation." Oh my god. So much extra work trying to find an apartment. It really is, like, just a lot of extra stuff. Oh, so hi there, Terry. Both former labor at PMs are in the latest Epstein file drop. Jesus fucking Christ. Why? The first time dropping in here, Terry, and I just get hit with the, did you know that the Epstein files are featuring people? Hi. That's a more appropriate start, first-time chatter. Welcome. I have enough shit going off in my life. Like, I know the Epstein files are being dropped here and there, but there's, like, a crazy amount of information, but it's one of those cases where, like, even the crazy amount of information is not coming in a reasonable fashion. It's coming in where, like, some of the stuff is redacted, some of the stuff is not redacted. Some people were trying to, like, come up with like an email chain where Elon Musk was communicating with Epstein, and then Epstein forward that email chain to Ghislaine Maxwell to be like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? Get him out of here. Which, turned out to be false, and then there's other information. Like, it is a fucking, like, minefield of, like, the Department of Justice just trying to, like, release Epstein files and trying to do it in such a fashion that, we're drip-fed the nonsense and, still being, like, cascaded and shit. Jeez, dude, chill. GrantZeebs is going through enough. Yeah. I was in the... Anyway, where was I in my story? Blah, 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 blah. Where was I? I was... oh, yeah. So, I had to send an email out to a real estate agent. Hang on, I just need to change the volume. There you go. So I had to send an email to a real estate agent, like, of, hey, I went and inspected this place, I threw my application here, this is who I am, this is my situation. I decided not to go fucking easy. Excuse me. I decided, hey, my name is Grant. I am an autistic male of this age. I have been living on my own for this many years. I have no tenant dispute, as I have a rental history greater than 8 years. I have a job history of greater than 8 years at this current place that I'm working. It's a full-time job. Oh, and I've provided my pay slips. I need to find a place by this day, because if I do not find a place to move into by this date, I am homeless. I made it in very clear terms if they want my situation, that's my situation. If I don't get a place, I'm homeless. And like quietly implying that if they're deciding to object to me, that they're they're making it so that I am going to they might be partially responsible for making me homeless. Really twist that fucking morality. Any whoosies. I follow up with them the next, because I sent that email like Tuesday evening. I follow up with them Wednesday after like my team meeting and such like that, giving the real estate agent office a call, being like, hey, I just wanted to confirm that my email came through and there wasn't any issues. The lady on the line, oh, so sweet. And they were like, yep, we got the email. And then she just like, looked over my application. It was like, yep, you provide us with ID. Yep, you provide us with job history. You did this, you did that, you did that. Awesome, great to hear. And then, I don't know if this is like an old person thing, but then they just started going into like extra detail about like, applications are different this year because September last year, the government has changed that you don't need to provide ID to rental applications going forward, which makes it really difficult for us, which to my mind sounds a little bit overzealous. Like, I feel like, if you're going to be applying for a place to live and, they're asking you to, prove that you can pay the rent and that you have, a history of rentals, it's not that much to ask for ID just to prove that, the person applying is the person applying and you're not, pulling a fast one and trying to, commit fraud and have someone's own rental history get fucked up because you decide to use someone else's ID and someone else's bank details, but then lo and behold, you don't actually control that banking details, and so you end up living in a place for a couple months without paying rent and such. And when they go chasing after the person who put in the rental application, they don't go directly to you, they go, to this other person instead. That would be kind of crazy. Any whoosies. So, phone call's done. She's like, thank you for, putting your application. I'm like, yep, thank you for taking my call. Couple hours later, I get another phone call. This from the same person. They're like, hey, Grant, we've put your application into the short list, and we just want to know if you are flexible with the move-in date. I put in my application that I want to move in as soon as possible. I think I put in like January 27th or 29th or something like that. And when they were asking, are you flexible with your move-in date? I'm like, okay, I'm only as flexible as like my last lease date. Like, I need to be in a place by February 11th. If I am not in a place by February 11th, that's a no-go, and I have to start looking at, and, all this nonsense. And she's like, okay, cool. Thank you for that. Understandable. And then I go on my lunch break. Hey, Sashara. Welcome. I can see her doing the moderation. Glad to see that you're here. But yeah, so I have my lunch. After my lunch break, like at around 1 o'clock, I get another phone call. It's from the real estate agent, and they're like, hi, Grant, great news. Our owner has looked at your application, and they are in agreement. Are you still interested in moving into this place? Finally! I have a place to live! So, I say, absolutely, how soon can I move in? And she's like, great, if you, the real estate agent that you've been communicating with previously, they will organize to, like, to have you pick up the keys. Your lease technically starts February 11th, but it won't, but you'll be able to pick up the keys before then, and it will be like, maybe a Tuesday afternoon or something like that. Coordinate with the real estate guy, to, confirm dates and such. I'm like, yep, cool, awesome. So I sent, and they were like, send a deposit and we'll send you the documentation. I sent my deposit, which was like a week's rent. 2 hours later, I get an email back saying, hey, here are the forms that you need to complete. When you sign off on this form, like Form 18A,
Hello.
we need you to send, page 12 over to this guy here so he knows that you've, made an application, or that you've accepted the application, so he can start removing the advertising and letting everyone know that their application is, not successful because you've accepted it. And then once we get these forms and such, then we ask you to pay, your bond and another week's of rent. So then that way we are holding on to the bond and 2 weeks worth of rent. And I'm like, cool, awesome. Send a text message to the real estate guy with my copy of the form. I send an email with all the scanned documents after I signed it and everything like that. And then, like, you know, this was at 2 o'clock or something like that. It gets to 4 o'clock. I'm finished with my day. The real estate agent's time is finishing at, like, you know, hi there, King Butt Stallion. Finishes at 5 p.m. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give another call because I very much want to get nipped in the butt. I really want to nip in the bud, like, you know, any concerns about moving into a place. I very much want that guarantee of, yes, I've paid the deposit. I've done all the nonsense. This place is going to be mine. So I call them. Real estate agent on the line confirms, yes, she's gotten my email with the signed thingamadiggies, and I'll get like a, you know, a signed copy from their side as well for my, you know, bookkeeping. And I'm like, excellent, great to hear. Thank you so much. So then I get that. So then I send off the rest of the monies, and then I make my way home on Wednesday. Wednesday morning, I very much had a feeling of, oh my god, I don't think I'll make it this time. This is the end. And then at the end of Wednesday, got an application in, got my deposit down, got all this nonsense, and I know where I'm going to be living come February 11th. It's just a little bit tense that the lease on the new place starts on the exact same fucking day that my lease at this current place ends. My fridge isn't working, and I just found out it's too cold. It won't kick on because it's in the garage. Wait, but the point of the fridge is that it's meant to be cold. What do you mean the fridge isn't working because it's too cold? As much as the additional details are a pain in the butt, I think it's probably a better way of screening applicants from an agency standpoint, because then it's on them to be a judge of character as well if they do. No, I'm fine with that. I just thought it was really weird that, you know, like the Australian or Queensland government is like, oh yeah, you may not need ID to be presented in rental applications going forward. That was just the interesting thing for me. Also, hi there, there's Sash. Welcome. Ugh, excuse me. So yeah, so my new lease starts February 11th. My old lease ends February 11th. I have, like, essentially a day to move all my stuff and bond clean the old place all within Wednesday and drop off the keys by 5:30 p.m. on that Wednesday. It is going to be a very, very tight window. That's a weird chant move from the government, like, what the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck? If the temperature outside is too cold, the fridge can't function. Well, it's a good thing that the temperature is too cold, because now, like, you know, the external environment at least allows the fridge to, you know, just work like an icebox. Any whoosies. Where's my brain at? Oh, yeah. So, I send a text message to the real estate agent guy. I just be like, hey, I was told that, you know, I could pick up, you know, the lease starts on this Wednesday, and I can pick up the keys Tuesday. I just want to confirm that there isn't a possibility of, you know, being able to pick up the keys earlier. He tells me give him a call back. I give him a call back. He explains to me, he's like, hey, you know, this lady should have explained it to you that, you know, you can pick up the keys on this day because we have a lot of people who are breaking their lease in January, and so we are very busy. It's just, you know, me and my wife, so I get a full backstory onto, like, how this real estate agent works. So it's not one of those, like, big ones like Rain and Horn or LJ Hooker, or that is a real estate agent by the by, chat. That is an Australian one, and it's a real one, LJ Hooker. That's the name. And there is an advertisement out there of a little kid with a teddy bear going, "Thank you, LJ Hooker," or no, "Thank you, Mr. Hooker." A hooker, yes. So, but yeah, so, where's my brain? So yeah, so I'm talking to, like, this mom and pop, basically, real estate agency, and apparently they're, like, you know, they're very busy throughout January. Now, I can follow up with them. I can follow up with them on Wednesday this week on, like, hey, are we still good for me picking up the keys on Tuesday late afternoon? Apparently, late afternoon in Australia is 5 p.m. What fucking time? 5 p.m. is not late afternoon. 5 p.m. is the evening. 5 p.m. is like, you know, the fucking sun is setting. It's no longer the afternoon. We're going into the evening. We're having episodes of MASH done. We're going into episodes of Family Guy, or The Simpsons, or any of the prime times. Granted, prime time is 6 p.m., but 5 p.m. is not late afternoon. But yeah, hi there, Jack. I love your message. Oh god, I'm never gonna make it this time. This is the end! Anyway, that's how I felt, especially because I posted on Blue Sky of like, hey, I might not, be streaming until I have a new place to live. So the part that keeps the inside out, and if the outside can't do its job, I get held so it can pull heat from the inside, then doesn't work. Oh my god, I vaguely remember those ads. Yeah, Tanmux knows them. Tanmux knows the advertisement for LJ Hooker. Do they work on the corner? Nah. So yeah. Let's see. Omega's got their bimbo rating at 37%. YY's got it at 45. 5 p.m. is getting off from work. It is. 5 p.m. is getting off from work. That is not late afternoon. Hi there, YY. What's up? What's up, Grant? What's up, YY? Light Strife does their himbo. Do they work on the corner? Nah. Clearly Wild Saber is still stuck on the fact that, there's, like, we have real estate agents called LJ Hooker. Like, we have a number of real estate agents with, like, we have Rain and Horn, Ray White, LJ Hooker, Sash. You're an Australian, and actually any of the Australians here. What's another real estate? So his wife is Hooker. No, his wife isn't Hooker. LJ Hooker is a big, like, franchise real estate agency. Ray White is a big franchise real estate agency. The Rain and Horn is a big franchise real estate agency. I'm working with a real estate agency that's not a big real estate agency. It's quite literally like Linda and Carlos or something like that. Like it's just a husband and wife that's just, being real estate agents to people who own other property and such. Having in the name Hooked has to be a pain to grow up with. What's another one that's big here? Ray White, Rain and Horn, LJ Hooker. There's some other ones. How are you still watching MASH? Because of syndication, Jack. Before the age of streaming, before the age of, people like deciding to come up with 12 episodes a season, these kind of timelines and getting that shit done before or even half the year is over, we used to have television shows that would go on for 20 episodes a season or more, and the goal of those episodes was not only to have enough TV episodes that you would, get through a majority of the year, but so then that way, once you got up to the mythical 100 episodes, your catalog was seen as desirable by broadcast networks, so then that way, you could be picked up for syndication or reruns, as they're called. And that's how you really made your money as a television program. Because of all these different broadcasts, no longer were you under exclusivity. You were now having, whatever corporation or whatever television channel deciding to go to your publishing house and say, hey, we love the cut of your jib. We would like to order being able to play all episodes of Seinfeld. And rather than having an episode of Seinfeld played once a week, you now had episodes of Seinfeld being played once a day. And when you compound that across all the different TV networks, you had hundreds of iterations of Seinfeld being played within a day. So if you were, a real big holder of, like, whatever TV show was syndicated, you made it big. And then the age of, like, the 2006 or 2008 writer strike went off because, there was all kinds of like issues with, pay discrepancy and, hiring writers and not really giving them a fair wage before the TV show even gets greenlit. And because of that writer strike going off, a number of big TV shows like The 100, Heroes, House, and Scrubs, a lot of these TV shows then had a marketable drop in viewership. Some of them never properly recovered, like Heroes, and so we are all made worse for it. And then others were somehow able, just by the sheer, girth of that TV show, were able to sort of coast over that blank period where they just had not many writers deciding to write for them. So, yeah. Excuse me, nose. Late afternoon is 7 to 8 p.m. During summer, it gets dark after that. During winter, it gets dark after 6. No, late afternoon is not 7 or 8 p.m., Light Strife. 7 or 8 p.m. is the evening. Late afternoon is any time before 5 o'clock, like 3 or 4. It's called reruns. Yes, it is, Wild Saber. Hey, Omega. Do you know what is Dark Side of Oil Painting? No, I don't know what Dark Side of Oil Painting is. been over 40 years, and 40 years later, it's still good. Exactly. Most people, except for Hawkeye, Klinger, Hennicutt, and Winchester, is still... No, Alan Old is alive, isn't he? Pretty sure Alan Old is still alive. Yeah, he's 90. This fucker ain't dying anytime soon. Oh, wait, sorry, reverse that. Besides the 4, the rest are deceased. Ah, okay. That makes a little more sense. I've crossed the dark side. Interesting turn of phrase there. Why? But hopefully that's a positive thing. Hopefully so. I only know, like, the only dark side I know of is, like, the dark side of the Sith and the dark side of the moon. You're just flicking through real estate agency names, and half of these I've never seen in my life. Well, it's one of those ones where, like, you know, ideally you don't need to deal with them a lot, so, like, why would you deal with any of the other ones besides who you're working with, so... Any whoosies. So, yeah, so... Chat, I need you to put positive energies, good graces, prayers, whatever your mystical energy is. I want you to pray positive vibes or whatever the phrase is for you. Allow me to pick up my keys for this new place before February 10th. I would love to pick up my keys possibly February 6th. Or maybe February 5th. If I can pick up my keys earlier than 2 weeks from now, if I can pick up my keys, like, within the next week, that would be very positive for me. It would be poggers. If I had my keys earlier, it means I can start moving things sooner. And the sooner this place is empty, the sooner I can bond clean this place. The sooner I can bond clean this place, the sooner I can return my keys to Rain and Horn. The sooner the keys are returned to Rain and Horn, the sooner I can get my bond back, and I will no longer be in financial constraints by trying to move between 2 places. Positive vibes. Positive vibes, chat! And if one of yous is praying for my downfall, why the fuck are you here? Why are you hate watching me in the shadows? Who is it? There's someone out there that is probably watching this clip right now and is seeing that their work being either undone or slowly, methodically being done at a rate that they are not pleased with. I want to know who it is. Who out there is wishing for my downfall? Is it because I'm a himbo? Is it because I'm a furry? Why? Don't pray for people's downfalls. Pray for the success of other people or the success of better people. God will find a way to, like, make those lives better, and then through that, you know, the miserable will go off on the other people, because there's only so much positive vibes that can go off in the world. Hypnotized into giving my house keys to the Zeebs. Hi there, Fizz. Welcome. All hail Plankton. All hail Plankton. Hopefully you're doing alright. Welcome. Sorry, there's like a text going off. Oh, my grandparents are over in New York having a wonderful time anywhere but home. I will use all my celestial powers to help you. Thank you, Cool Gamer. I see the name Cool Gamer 28,000, and the first thing that pops into my head is cool math games, like from high school era. Also, where the fuck is my, I'm trying to find the, oh, shit. Nope, that's the right cable. Yep, it is the right cable. It was just stuck in a set of drawers. My goodness. Good luck getting your house keys. Thank you. I very much appreciate it. There are a series of bylaws in the apartment that are not going to be too great for me to deal with. They're like, absolutely no pets. You cannot put things on the walls. You cannot hang things on the railing. You cannot put awnings or blinds up. And I'm like, that sounds a little bit egregious. I'm hoping I can still put, like, 2M tape on the walls. Your nickname is CG. CG. You might bite Grant's nose if he tries hypnotizing me, but good luck getting your house keys. Very much so. It's not a house, it's an apartment or a unit, but I do appreciate the positive energies. Thank you, thank you. So, and I just realized that I forgot to turn my profile into like, hey, I'm online and streaming thing. I forgot to do that with... Blue Sky has introduced like a cool new thing you can do. Like, hang on a sec. Let me open up Opera GX so you can have an opportunity to see it and what have you. Like, Blue Sky has a thing you can do. Hopefully I typed this in correctly. Oh my god. There we go. Because I have to put profile at the start. So, Blue Sky has a thing you can do where you can go live. And I'm just going to paste it in my Twitch link. There we go. And let's say... So, I reckon I'm going to be live until, like, 12 o'clock. So, 11:59. There we go. Because normally I try and stay live for, like, 4 hours or so. So, yeah. And so now, if I refresh the thingy-madiggy... Yeah, there we go. Now it says I'm live. And it's, you know... For me, it's like that link there. So I wonder if like anyone's over at my Blue Sky. I do love the new Blue Sky feature. I just have to remember to actually activate it. Yeah, I feel like the feature would go a long way if you could, like, I know that it wouldn't be in the methodology of Blue Sky because Blue Sky is not really interesting. You got the Blue Sky. I think the Blue Sky thing is now open for everyone. But if like Blue Sky's methodology is that you're meant to be able to like work within Blue Sky independently. So, like, if I open an incognito window to Blue Sky, just to, like, sort of settle, you know, present how it works and what have you, you can create an account, and you can't see this... Anyway, you can't see the incognito window, which is a shame. But if you create... Like, when you're creating a Blue Sky account, they don't have a thing that a lot of other websites do, where it's like, oh, hey... Would you like to link your Google account to Blue Sky? Would you like to link your Twitter account to Blue Sky? Would you like to link your what's-a-mahoozy? Like, there's all these, like, websites out there that will, instead of having their own, like, password manager and such like that, they will instead have you, like, lean on, like, Google or Facebook or Twitter. Like, they will lean on other... authenticators in order to make your account and what have you. Blue Sky doesn't look like they're going down that route. So the feature, like the way I would love the feature to improve on Blue Sky is if you could link your Twitch account to Blue Sky. So then that way, when I go live, it just automatically puts the live thingy-majiggy on there. But, you know, Blue Sky's not interested in having you link accounts to Blue Sky. So that's like, you know, not gonna... Also, thank you for having a 5-stream streak with me, Omega Platinum. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that I'm able to stream and help continue that on. So yeah, so as much as I would love for Blue Sky to have like an automatic linking of Twitch streams and what have you, I don't think that's gonna be something that Blue Sky is gonna do, just because it doesn't play into the existing methodology. Like, they're trying to make themselves an independent source. Like, they're like, maybe at some point in the future, like, because I know this was a thing, like, for instance, like, I have this, you know, at GrantZeebs.com. So if you go to, you know, GrantZeebs.com, it goes to my Blue Sky, which is really cool. If you go to, boobies.grantzeebs.com, hang on a second, let me just like hide the... Let me just hide the thingy-madiggy real quick, just to make sure. Yeah, okay, so it's not boobies, it's, if you go to boobs.grantzeebs.com, it will lead you to a fun little website. So yeah, so I've got like some subdomain stuff going off with my GrantZeebs.com. I really should do a twitch.grantzeebs.com, so then that way, you know, it just takes you to like my Twitch account or something like that. But, you know, that means me being clever with Cloudflare. Anywhoosies, Blue Sky did a thing where you could link, if you owned a domain, you could link that domain to your Blue Sky, like, profile, which I think is really fucking clever. It is, like, You know how people like you were like, oh, this blue check marker such, which meant to be like verified, where there was like proof of like journalism and such like that you were who you say you were, and then they made it really easy by just paying like a $7 subscription fee. Blue Sky is kind of in the middle of that, because I will be frank with you, owning a domain is really quick and easy for you. Like, as you saw, I have GrantZeebs.com. But I was fortunate enough to get GrantZeebs.com without anyone else taking it or anything like that. So, by this extension, you could have journalists from the NewYorker.com or the Sydney Morning Herald.com or whatever websites. And if, their IT or cloud team will then allow them to use that domain name in their Blue Sky profile, which I feel like is a great middle ground. You're not leaning on Twitter to like, do their own validation of like, is this a legitimate, New York journalist or something like that? And what's more, if you want legitimate sources and what have you, you are most certainly going to go for legitimate sources where they're doing something like at, gov.au or at newyorker.com. Like, if they are a trusted, like, if there's like a YouTube like executive on there and their like profile thingy-majiggy is like, their username.youtube.com as like the Blue Sky handle, that seems way more legitimate than, whatever their random fucking profile handle would be if they didn't have a domain. Like, I love that about Blue Sky. I like that feature. And it's one that, like, it isn't as simple as, just buying a subscription to be seen as a verified user, because you still have to play the fucking lotto of I need to get a domain name registered, which is going to have a monthly or yearly cost of its own. So yeah, it's great. You just kind of hope they eventually add images to DMs, at least sooner than later, ideally. Yeah, that would be nice. Actually, hang on a second. Do they not? Nah, you're right. It's only emojis right now. I'll be frank. They do not. Yeah, I'll be frank. Like, I would love... Right now, I'm using a website called Buffer to schedule my posts. Buffer is meant to be used for, coordinating social media accounts. So it costs, like, you can use Buffer for free for like 3 social media accounts. But if you want to do more or use way more of its features, you need to start paying a monthly subscription. I'm not for that. I like Buffer for being able to coordinate, like, postings between, Blue Sky and X. So it's like, if I want to do a stream announcement, post or something like that, where it's like, oh, hey, in the next few hours, I'm going to be live streaming. I love using Buffer for that, so I can coordinate the post so it goes off at the same time on X and Blue Sky. But when it comes to, the I'm going live tweet, I schedule it on X.com, and then over on Blue Sky, I just send it out the minute I start streaming, even when there's still a countdown. Be Grant, not Frank. Will do. Sippies. So yeah, so it's gonna be still like a relatively sort of stressful like week or two, because as Tanmux mentioned like a while ago, I have 10 days in this place that I'm in right now before I move, and it's going to be I've already packed like I would say 50% of my stuff right now, or 40% of my stuff. I still have this office to pack up. I still have, random accessories and consoles that I need to put in boxes and what have you. Sir Dragon is a real himbo at 72%. Nice work, Sir Dragon. Also, I'm going to have to update my throne. Like, ooh, it still has the Pepsi on there, which is pretty good. And then it has, like, the Thingamadooks, and then it has the Garo book, and then it has Fulgrim, a subscription to Substance Painter 2024. That is probably going to need to get updated to 2025. But yeah, there's going to need to be some other thing, like, there's going to be something else I'm going to need to put in there, because one of the things that I've done recently, like, hope the move goes okay for you. Yeah. You stopped using X this year. As for multi-posting, I tend to use Postybird for that. Mainly want DM images for comms and the raffle I'm doing over there to streamline. Yeah, no, fair. Postybird is cool, but the reason I'm not a huge fan of Postybird is because, like like I use Postybird for fur affinity because there's all these extra details you need to do for fur affinity, which I don't think Buffer does. Buffer do fur affinity? It would be weird if they did. Hang on a second. Buffer.com fur affinity. I don't think they do. Let's see. So they do Blue Sky, Google Profile, LinkedIn, Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Threads, Mastodon, Instagram, and Facebook. Yeah, they don't do, yeah, it doesn't look like they'll do fur affinity. That's something else. So yeah, so Postyburb is still good for fur affinity and what have you, but the thing that I'm not a huge fan of with Postyburb, I have not come up, like, I don't know if someone's made a Docker container or something like that for it, but you kind of need to have Postyburb running on your machine in order for the scheduler to work. And I'm not exactly in the cadence of running this giant fucking PC, like, echelon, this giant ship of Theseus that I have with a 3090 plugged into it 24/7. That's a little excessive. I'm fine with the PC that's like, you know, an unraid, you know, network access storage device running 24/7 because, you know, the power supply is a little lower wattage. It isn't using that intensive of a electrical profile. I'm much happier with that PC running 24/7 because it's working as my Plex server, my media backup, my little organizer of all kinds of little things, and when I have the time to, a Minecraft server. I really want to do like a better job in hosting video game servers on it, but it's not perfect. I go through hell to post all the pictures I take onto Fur Affinity. I do 5 per day. Jesus. I do like maybe 5 a year now. I do not go through that many I don't go through that many Fur Affinity like commissions or anything like that. I will be real with you though, like the where's my brain? Where is my brain? Like, cause I was spending like, you know, $500+ a week on rent, I didn't exactly have a lot of free money to put into things like you know, art commissions and what have you. But as I'm going into a place that is costing me less than $500, it's still expensive. It's still like, you know, 37% of my take-home pay. But at the very least, I am spending a little less on my rent, which means that I might be able to put it into other things like savings or art commissions and what have you. But, you know, probably not likely art commissions in like, you know, the immediate future. So it's more likely just going to be like, you know, savings into, I feel like the next big goal is a I think the next big goal for me is going to be getting a car, because due to like visiting family and the house hunting that I just had to do in January, I'm very much of the realization that I probably need to, you know, actually get myself a motor vehicle now. As much as I would love to just be, you know, going around where like the 90% of my places via 90% of the places via public transport, there has now been enough occasions in the 10% where it's like, oh yeah, I should probably have a motor vehicle to make this easier. Hello there, Masonic. Welcome, welcome. I take pictures on VR chat and then post them onto Fur Affinity. Ah, okay. I see. Makes sense, honest. I like Postybird since I'm there when I'm mass uploading and such. I would not use it for small posts. Yeah. So, I kind of want to do VR chat more. Like, that is definitely on the, you know, I feel like there would be people interested in seeing the Zebra in like in a VR chat or VR games format. Like, it would definitely be interesting doing that in the brain. It would be interesting doing just chatting streams in a VR situation as opposed to like me sitting here with like, you know, a chest rig and what have you. But the thing is that I don't have like a modular mic for the headset that I have, because like I've got like, you know, the Valve like stream like kit thing. Code hosted a VR hangout a while back, was kind of chill. Yeah, no, I saw that. He's been doing a little more VR, which is a little bit cool. I wish I could do more VR stuff, but like I'm very much stuck in my head of like, oh, if I'm going to do good VR stuff, like maybe I should look into getting like, you know, full VR like body kit thing, which, you know, has been kind of preventing it. But in the new place that I'm going into, they don't want me putting anything on the walls or anything like that. So one of the things that I'm definitely going to need to do is look into a new solution as to how I set up my VR setup. Do you play Minecraft on Bedrock or Java? Java. Java, you're able to run mods and such. Zeebs in a VR chat with no clothes and all nice. No, not doing that. Definitely not on a stream. You've got a Slime VR kit. Yeah, so Slime VR looks like, you know, looks like the best sort of option, frankly, because that one there will allow out like it's not expensive. It's not expensive to do. It is like, you know, it takes a little, like you can either buy directly from Slime VR, or you can buy like, you know, a dev kit or something like that, and then just buy the parts yourself and, you know, make your own like 3D housing and such. Boy. What about those little straps you can use? Yeah, so like it's like $450 in the realm of like, you know, full body tracking in VR is relatively cheap. Like if you wanted to go, for example, with HTC Vive, like if you want to go with them, it's easily like, you know, $600+ to get additional trackers to be able to do full body. You got a 10-piece kit. There's like, yeah. So like with HTC Vive, you're spending like $600 or $900 just to get 3 additional points. Plus it's expandable. Yeah, so that's the benefit of like, I feel like because of things like Slime VR and Tundra Labs, there are way more options out there in order to do full body tracking, especially since we have like a mixture of ways people want to do full body tracking. We've got some people going with like, you know, sort of in-out tracking. So rather than having like lighthouses in like the corners of your room or something like that, you instead have trackers that are on your body that use gyroscopes to do an assessment of like, oh, what direction or what orientation are the trackers going now? Which, you know, is the benefit of that is you don't have to worry about lighthouses and such. The disadvantage is that, you know, with where we are right now with those kinds of trackers, like in out, is that some of them are not perfect. It's a lot of calibration to get it right, and sometimes they're not great with fast movement. Tanmux has slimes as well. Nice. How do you deal with motion sickness from VR gaming? The best, like, to deal with motion sickness, you want to make sure that you have consistent refresh rate. So some people are very much of the argument of like motion sickness goes away when you don't have like stuttering. So like viewing something in 30 frames or 15 frames a second actually does feel painful compared to like 60 frames or 120 and such. Like people like that is a thing. But more importantly, I think not only do you need high refresh rate, but you need consistent refresh rate. So if you have 1% lows that are going below 60 frames a second, I would not, you know, recommend like, you know, VR if you are susceptible to motion sickness and what have you. I'm not too susceptible to motion sickness, frankly. I've not noticed it when I've been doing my you know, VR hangouts with unnamed or what have you. I only have Slime VR as an option as I had a Quest headset, so for anything else, I needed a new system completely. I have a fan gently blowing to keep me knowing my direction of the room space. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. I have none of that. Excuse me. Throat. Yeah. Where's my brain at? I'm doing thins. I am. So yeah, so like with the new place that I'm going into and such, I don't want to like, you know, I don't want to like drill holes into the ceiling again. I've done that twice now, and both times now, especially with this regard, like I'm a little worried about like, you know, I'm probably going to lose a portion of my bond trying to, you know, get these holes in the ceiling like plugged and painted. So I don't want to lose the entire bond, but I feel like, you know, if I don't do a good job, you know, patching this, it's not going to work well. And if the bylaws in this new place are very much just do not put things on the walls and all that kind of nonsense, I feel like it would be a much safer bet going with like C stands or something like that for my VR lighthouses, which means, you know, trying to find like, you know, a reasonable solution for that. It will be tough. So, but, you know, I'll figure it out. Don't you worry. So, yeah. I'll probably put it on, like, you know, I'll probably put it on my throne at some point. I'll probably put, like, a few things on my throne that might be good for the home that I'm moving into and such, because I'm actually going to get it, like, a lock-up garage, going forward. Like, the garage that I was in previously was... like, it's a communal garage, so, like, they had, like, you know, 12 spots or what have you, but my spot that was, like, designated to me way too often would just get filled in by someone else. So, you know, thankfully I didn't have a car when I was living in this place, because if I did, I would probably be upset on multiple basis of someone taking my car spot. So yeah, so it's better that I'm getting, like, you know, now that I'm in the mindset of like, hey, I should probably look for like a car to own and such like that. I'm doing it at a time where I have a car spot that is explicitly my own and has like a little, like, you know, door and everything for it. So yeah. Excuse me, throat. And then I'm also like checking things on the side, sorry. But yeah. One of the things I'll definitely, like, probably get is, like, you know, I'll probably get it from Bunnings of all places. I'll get myself a, blah, 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 blah. I'll get myself, like, a shelving unit to go in there or something like that. So then that way, because that's where the washing machine's gonna go. So I'll probably put things like, you know, whatever, like, tools and such. And, you know, it will be a place for holding, like, detergents and everything and whatever cleaning stuff. So, where is my... I'm pretty... yeah, I'll probably get it from, like, Bunnings or something like that. Bunnings would probably be the best place to get the, because you can get, like, some good stuff from Bunnings, quite frankly. Good yap. Fantastic yapping. Love it. So, that was, like, the major one. Actually, if I type in garage into Bunnings, what do they give me as results? Because I don't have a stepladder. I should probably get one. Ah, here we go. Heavy duty shelving unit from Pinnacle. So it's like almost 2 meters by 2 meters with a 540 millimeter base, 4 tiers. That's honestly good. Then there's a lockable garage cabinet. I think the lockable is probably a nice idea. And then there's all these different garage doors, which I can't use because there's already a garage door. Then there's a garage keeper. Compact garage storage. Oh, that's kind of cool. I'll have a look at that one. Just don't mind me as I'm, like, looking at like, random stuff. Oh my god, that 8-bit gen is so good. Nice. Oh, it yaps as well! That's cool! I should really get a yap emote. I don't have a yapping emote. I feel like I feel like having a yapping emote would be... you made the yapping one? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So it's just like a little like, yeah. Like, I don't know if this would work, but There is a let me find the actually let me open up Opera GX again so then that way you can join in with me on like finding this thing. There is where is it? Ding dong. So fire crocodile Pokemon. What is their name? Okay, so Fuecoco Totodile meme. Is it like Chomp? Where is it? There's just a GIF out there that I absolutely love, or like they're just like yapping or something like this. Like someone made that into a GIF. Let me see if I can find it. It's not this. Ah, here it is. This I oh no, damn it. Now I have to look for it again. Fucker. Okay, hang on. Scrolling. We can do this. Here it is. Look at it. Look at it. Look at him. That's that, like, cuz like look at this face. If I could have like a yapping gif, I would want something of this caliber where it's just like would be good. Could be good. God, do you know how many episodes of Pokemon there are? Like, going from, like, you know, Pokemon, like, the original series, like, with, like, you know, the Ash Ketchum adventure in the Kanto region, and then you're going through Johto and like, we get up to Pokemon Journeys, I think it's called. There's over 1,100 episodes, or 1,200 episodes. It's fucking insane. What would you do if I found an abandoned village in Minecraft? I don't know. I'm not playing Minecraft right now. That's all on you, CG. I also did the Jenna J out tank gif. What is that? The J out tank. I could do one of those. The yapping one? Is that something? Have you done, like, chat, you should go and check out Davey Boy. Like, I don't know if Davey Boy does like streams and such, but they do art. Like, look at this guy. Look at him. Look at this. He's a monkey. I love the thinky emote that he does. Oh, hang on. Oh my god. Where is? Hang on. Lion scream monkey meme. Here it is. Have you done like a Have you done like something like this? Like someone's done that meme for where it's like for Rajong and something like, hang on a second. Rajong meme and screaming. Like, hang on a second. There is a, where is it? Here it is. Look, oh god damn it, when a hunter breaks your horns, you break their spine. Where is it? Here it is. There's the image. Look at that. Like fucking Savage Devil Joe just having an absolute, like, you know, like screaming match, and then there's Rajong just like, yes. I'm gonna be frank with you though, that there wouldn't fucking happen. Rajong is not calm. Rajong is an angry monkey. He is an angry monkey who is too angry to die and will turn Super Saiyan if you piss him off too much. I don't know when Rajong was a thing. Actually, hang on. I could probably... Monster Hunter, Rajong. It will probably tell me when Rajong was first a monster. Let's have a look. Yep, so Thunder first, and then it's weak to Ice, and then it was weak to Earth during Monster Hunter Explore. Okay, so it's from second generation, they said. So... Wait, second gen? So wait, and then there was... Okay, so there's breakable parts. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Is it only that far back? Oh no, here it is. Monster Hunter Freedom 2. Ultra-aggressive creature that is rarely sighted and seldom survives. Survivors report it exhibits a strange attack. The Rajong is said to be a loner, and this isolated life has made it difficult to pin down its territorial leanings. So like that was the first one, Monster Hunter Freedom 2. and then it pops up in Monster Hunter 4, and then it was in Generations, and then it was in Iceborne, and then it was in Rise. Oh, it's in Monster Hunter Stories. I need to get through Monster Hunter Stories. And then it's Monster Hunter Now. God damn. Could you imagine a fucking Rajang in Monster Hunter Wilds? Like, an Arkveld versus Rajang? That would be fucking nutty. Tempered Rajang is actually easy, guys. I can post in Yin chat or DM you. You can DM me. I'm pretty sure if we're mutuals on Discord servers and such, you will be able to direct message me. You do animate from time to time. I'm asking you, what would you do if you found an abandoned village in Minecraft? I don't know. I'd probably, like, just pillage it. Just, like, look for anything that's useful and, you know, take it with me and keep on moving. Because I feel like by the time I found an abandoned village, I more likely already have, like, my own little mud hut of my resources. He's best boy. I am biased for the Super Saiyan monkey. You fought him in 2 and 3 in case you were wondering. Yeah, I have a friend, like, Blue Foxy Nicey Icy. Blue Foxy Nicey Icy. They got me back into because I tried playing Monster Hunter Worlds when the PlayStation 3 was first out. I couldn't get into it. I distinctly remember not going through, like, the mission to just, you know, do an expedition or something like that. And I did not engage with, like, doing type differences or something like that when I tried going up against, Anjanath when it was first a thing. This was before Iceborne or anything like that. Years and years later, Blue got me into going into Monster Hunter World again with Iceborne. I went through most of World with the Defender set, so then that way I can just plow through it, and then I had, like, the Defender weapon, so everything was just explosive. But then I was hitting a bit of a brick wall once we entered into Iceborne, but thankfully Blue helped me out. I learned about type differences and all that shit. I was still bonkhammer mad, and what was really funny is after Blue got me through as much of Monster Hunter Iceborne, and I was in the Guiding Lands, many times when Blue was like, hey, Zeebs, how's it going? I'm like, I'm doing good. He's like, you want to do some Monster Hunter? I'm like, glad that you asked. I'm in Monster Hunter right now. And lo and behold, when Blue was wondering what the fuck I was doing in Monster Hunter Iceborne, it was trying to deal with a Rajang. And he fucking hated me for it. Every time he was helping me out in Iceborne, we would be fighting a Rajang at least once. And he was so annoyed. He was certain. He thought there was a bias. He thought the monkey was after his insect glaive every time. He was certain that, you know, Rajang was like, he fucking hated that monkey. He could not stand that monkey because, quite frankly, the monkey was always targeting him, which I thought was really funny because I was a hammer user. I just wanted to bonk the monkey, and the monkey kept moving. He doesn't sit still. And if you try and clutch claw him, and he is not busy doing something, he is going to grab you, scream in your face, and toss you halfway across the field. They refuse to do Rajang and Wilds without me. That sounds like retail experience. Velk in retail, someone just taps on his shoulder and they're just like, excuse me, sir. And he's just like, it's in the aisle. Just screams at them. Didn't work? What do you mean didn't work? Wait. Serious? Wait, no, hang on. Oh, you probably have your own, like, thingy-madiggy, don't you? Hang on. Your message cannot... This is usually because you don't share a server with the recipient, or the recipient is only accepting direct messages from friends. That's why you've got yourself set up so that you only accept, direct messages from friends. I've made it so that I can accept direct messages from mutuals. It's way easier. It keeps my friend list low, so then that way I'm not filled with, like, all these random people that I've maybe messaged once or twice for, like, an art commission or something and never communicated with again, because I am absolutely terrible with, you know, keeping up with socializing, because I'm an introvert at heart. Usually the workers are the ones getting screamed at. Ah, okay. Also, I should probably move into the Zebra streaming just in case people want to, like, you know, converse in here or what have you. But yeah, this is honestly fun. So, one of the... So yeah, but no, that would be... So yeah, so Savage Devil Show and Raja, that'd be good. I'm trying to think, like, who in Davy Boy's life would be screaming at Davy Boy while Davy Boy's just like, yeah, just monkey see, monkey smile. Just look at these guys. Look at these guys. They're so silly. But yeah, like this chomps. I like this chomp. I have not played Pokemon Scarlet. I have Pokemon Sword or Shield, and I have not finished Pokemon Sword Shield. Like, the last Pokemon game before then I played was Pokemon Emerald, and that one I properly finished. Granted, that one was technically on an emulation, so I was able to, when I got to the boring bits, I just decided to accelerate through the boring bits and just go... Link me that in DMs by the GIF. Oh, shit! Hang on. Ding, dong. Let me open that up again. Ding, donk. And then... Alright, Control-Shift-T, Control-Shift-T. Here we go. Ding. Because, like, I recognize that artist. Like... My last message to Davy Boy was from May last year, with the meme of, like, the, hey guys, using the incorrect name. Goro Majima, not what I'm called. If you ever watch Jenna play a War Thunder, she has a J out redeem, which forces Jenna to self-detonate the current tank, and this long banner plays on screen. Nice. Okay. I wish I could watch the that's cool. That's cool. I wish I could watch more American streamers and such like that, but I've been, like, the last couple of weeks has been, like, stressful as fuck for me, frankly. And, like, I'm hoping that, you know, as I get, you know, a little more, like, financial security or freedom and what have you, that I'll be able to, like, watch the American streamers again at some point, especially collaborate with them. Free Shaka Vaka. Who? My brother does art. What the? Cool Gamer says some stuff that I'm just not familiar with. Oh, fresh avocado. That was the biggest and long GIF I made so far. It's a cool GIF. You've done a cool job. Nice work. Also, I can see the mutual servers that you and I are in. Respect. Fresh avocado. So yeah. There's an actual phrase. You don't know. Nah, you're gonna need to link me. Like, it'll probably be something I'll look at another day, but it's definitely not something I'm gonna be looking at tonight. Or, not tonight, sorry, this morning. I'm, like, I know, like, you know, Twitter, like, Twitch algorithm nonsense where it's like, oh, if you're just chatting, sometimes you're better off just watching TikToks and give your commentary while you're watching the... I know there's some people that do that on stream, and it's just a real quick entertaining, because sometimes people do just want to watch TikTok streams themselves, and then it's like, you know, it's like, you know, they just end up, you know, having this TikTok flow going off on the second stream while the streamer is, like, you know, doing the thing, unbeknownst to them that they're going through advertisements and, you know, helping support the streamer with all their viewings and whatnot. Excuse me, nose. So, bing, dong. Okay, I'm gonna minimize that window because I don't need to look at it. And then, oh, Velk sent me a video. Alrighty, let me open up Opera GX again. It's like, I see the Vine, like, it's... Ding, dong, let's have a look.
Get to Del Taco! They got a new thing called Free Shavakadu! Free Shavak!
Yeah, I think I saw that. Free Shavakadu. One thing I actually... Bard core, honestly, real good. I respect it. Alright. Excuse me. Nose. You got a few others that are the same. Nice. You've done many little gifts, actually, over the years, to be honest. Nice, nice. I wonder how diamond armor would fit your massive body. Easily. Like, the Minecraft, like, stuff. This is just like my preferred model for like streaming and what have you. I put like money down on this thing. This is like a fursuit. Is it like, you know, what my body is IRL, or my body in like, you know, any of the other like, you know, video game formats? Hell the fuck no, but I'm still gonna use it. Boot, Jenny, Wimp, Bang Dong. That's kind of good. That's a silly three-piece. Good three-piece. Ugh. Oh, what's up with my watch? Do I need to take my watch off? I don't want to take my watch off because it's meant to be like tracking my activities, what have you. Oh, it didn't install a thingamadiggy because I was wearing my watch while I sleep. That's how it works. You are tracking my sleep, so of course I'm gonna wear my watch in the evening. And then another whack. Ugh. But yeah. So what am I looking for? So I need things to hang for, you know, storing stuff in the garage. That's going to be one of the things. I think C stands is that what I want? C stands, heavy duty versatile piece used in to support lights, modifiers, and props. Characterized by a 3-legged base and a durable metal construction, they offer superior stability. So yeah, so I'd probably go for like a C stand or something like that, but it would need to have like a very low footprint. So then that way, like I'd probably want to go for like a weighted, like small footprint thing. I know it's a joke from somewhere. Jenny and the Wimp and something about a boot to the head. I like that it's just Jenny gets hit by the boot and then it still flings through and hits the Wimp. That's just pretty good for me. I think it's pretty good. And that boot is the boot from The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I don't recall playing it to completion to know where that boot's from. But yeah, I need to look at different, actually, you know what? If I look at VR stands, like, there's probably going to be, like, you know, an extra cost to them because, you know, the fact that it's like, oh, it's for VR, which means that there's going to be, like, this extra, there's going to be this, like, sort of extra cost to them, even though, like, quite frankly, I could probably get away with just fine because like the threads in a base station is the same as a lot of other threads. Like small rig does the same sort of thing. And I just need to find something that has like, rather than like, you know, like the 3 prongs, I just want to find something that's like, you know, got a ring base or something like that and is able to just like, that ring base will be the weighted thing. That's probably how I would go about doing it. And then while I'm doing that, I would need some sort of microphone, most likely. Oh, and then people have done, like, you know, cool little grips and charging stations and such. That's kind of cool. It looks good. Tempered glass, VR, sensor stands. Adjustable ball head, 14 mounts included. Compatible with HTC Vive stations or Oculus Rift consultation. HTC Vive base station is not concluded. Skip wall mounts. Yeah, okay, so if I look for adjustable ball head mounts. So yeah, there's like small rig. And I want to try and find something that's like, because I could probably what I would do with the lighthouses is I'd probably have one of them like actually like, no, if I do it set to the to my desk and the desk is a standing desk, then the lighthouse is going to be moving up and down with the desk, which is not a good idea. Yeah, small rig might be the place to look, and I just need to find like, you know, something that will be able to like hold the thing. It will be difficult, but I reckon I'll find it. There's like, so there's tripods, there's mounts. I feel like tripod is the correct word, but like, goodness gracious, like it needs to be something other than a tripod. It needs to be like a stand. Actually, if I just type stand, what, like, there's gonna be, Studio monitor stands, and then laptop stand. Yep, cool, awesome. I'll probably like I'll probably just like look through all the different stands there, and I'll just find something that's like for holding thing, because like it just needs to be fair. It just needs to be very high, and then I just needs to have like a thread at the top that is compatible with base stations and what have you. Sent you a lot of gift doodles if you were curious. Thank you, Davey boy. Big Zelda randomizer player, so thought it was appropriate. Cool. These are all the... Wait, so some of these gifts you've done? Is that what you're showing off, Light Strife? We can't forget the thing that is Apple VR. That thing is too easy to scratch or break. Apples bruise easily. That's a good one. I gotta remember that one. Apples bruise easily. Oh god, one of the things, oh my god, there's so many things on my to-do list of like, you know, like not only, so I need to get a new phone at some point, because the phone that I have in my hand right now, it will, like, I've already replaced the battery, service on this thing. This is an iPhone 11. You forgot Apple even did VR? It's not really VR, it's more augmented reality, but the thing is that they don't advertise it very much because they made it once, and there has not been any dramatic increase in the VR space and what have you, because quite frankly, VR is a peripheral still. Like, that's the thing. Like, the technology of VR has not changed all that much, all right? If you, like, the technology works the exact same way as you would monitors and such. And really, the only time people care about the monitors is when they get bigger and when they get faster. Ooh, oops. PS did a VR too? Yeah, PS did a VR, and now they're moving away from that. So there's that too. Nice, Davey boy just giving me all the gifts. Quick doodles and what have you. Hey, you got a chomp one in the bottom right. That's cool. Oh, excuse me. Throat. They are pectorals. They clearly say boobs in the gif. But yeah, so like that's my interpretation, is that VR isn't like, it's not a mobile phone, it's not a computer, it's a peripheral. And like there's currently like a bit of a mix on like because if it goes down the mobile route, you need to start like, you know, making it lighter. You need to make it smaller. You need to make it so that the battery isn't like, you know, a fucking chunky boy that's going to weigh down on your face, because it is not fun wearing like, you know, 5 kilograms on the front of your head. So there's that route. If it's for the PC, however, then it's definitely not for mobility. So you can go like, but then it's like you're hooked into it and what have you. And there's a bit of a learning curve in regards to like, you know, operating in VR as well. So, like, yeah, it's the VR thing is just, it's more of a peripheral right now than as an actual like new computing thing, because it's like most interpretations of the VR is just, oh, here's a 360 display view for you, and you're limited to like, you know, mobile stuff with the VR so far. You're considering getting an upgrade on VR stuff. Only got a Quest 2 at the moment. I need to make a list. There's a list of like things that I would like to upgrade or get new, and the like I have savings, but I've just recently used a lot of my savings to pay for my bond and the 2 weeks rent and what have you, because I wanted to get that shit locked down before my payday. Because my payday's coming up this week, but I got all this like documentation and such like that back on Wednesday, and I didn't want to wait that long. So I've had to use a lot of my savings to put down my deposit and the 2 weeks rent and what have you. I will try and recover as much as possible of my savings with the next paycheck and what have you. But yeah, like there's a number of like financial things I need to save up for. It does the job. I'm not sure PC parts will become more affordable anytime soon. They're not going to. Much of the cost changes that happened to the PC parts at the end of last year wasn't even directly correlated into supply. Those prices were altered by speculation. So we haven't even felt the effects of a reduced RAM capacity. We had adjusted the prices based off of gut feeling and speculation. So, like, what's most likely going to happen is that we've had the exorbitantly high prices because of like speculation. So then it's going to go quickly down a little bit when we actually get into this new year. But I think because of the fact that there is going to be like, you know, people may have been like hoard buying and such like that earlier, we're still going to have low supply. And it's like, you know, we're still going to have like, it's going to be overall, RAM is still going to cost more now than it did ever before. But I don't think it's going to cost as much as when we first did the speculation adjustment, because like all that speculation was done prior to like us even knowing how much RAM was going to be left over for consumers and what have you. My CPU is like nearly 15 years old. You need a new CPU, motherboard, and ideally more RAM. Yep. You would. 15 years is a, I'm gonna be frank, that's a pretty decent time for like a CPU and what have you. But if you're definitely going into the realm of like, you know, arting and doing other, like especially in a multitasking kind of cadence here in the modern world, you're probably going to need to upgrade your CPU. One thing that is kind of curious to see, however, is that we're seeing like the CPUs going through another renaissance. So if you remember, there was, so like Intel for the longest time was like kind of leading, like, you know, a decade ago because of their hyper-threading and what have you. Few years back, AMD decided to go through their Zen architecture. They're still doing the they picked up on the hyper-threading method that Intel was doing, but what AMD did is they were able to set up like all the different components on the Zen architecture differently from what from what Intel was doing. They weren't shrinking as quickly as Intel was at the time, but they got to a point where their Zen architecture did do better than Intel was doing in some of their gaming metrics. It was still a debatable fight in productivity, so things such as Adobe Photoshop, Handbrake, and yada yada. But, you know, what used to be seen as, oh yeah, just go for Intel if you're doing more than one thing, was now becoming a debatable fight, especially in a bang for your buck situation. So Intel wasn't really doing too hot in the later years now, like 2 years back. Now Intel has gone into a new route. They've gotten rid of hyper-threading in their most recent lineup of, I think it's called Nova Lake or something like that. So in their second generation, so they've done like a second generation of their new architecture. So instead of having like, you know, really strong CPU cores and doing a hyper-threading thing, what they're actually doing now, because of how we're doing multi-threading and they can see how developers operate, they're now making a thing where they have like maybe 4 or 6 super high performance cores, so like, you know, proper performance cores and such, and then they have a shit ton of much weaker cores, or what's called economy cores. So there's no hyper-threading, so there's no like, you know, one core doing 2 threads or anything like that, but instead it's like 1 core, 1 thread, but it's like the first 6 or 4 is like performance, really high frame rates, or sorry, not frame rates, really high calculation and speeds, and then they have these economy cores, which is more suitable for programs that are actually doing the whole, hey, we're going to utilize as many cores as possible to split the workload and do much smaller tasks. And those ones are going into like sort of more of like a server economy. And that I think is really interesting. And from what we've seen with Panther Lake, their 3rd generation, which is going into laptops and what have you, so there's a little bit of a built-in Intel GPU unit in them as well. Those are actually performing fairly well against AMD's current generation, especially in terms of performance to power. Why Lakes, though? They just picked the naming scheme, okay? They just picked the naming scheme. There's still a number to them. Panther Lake is just like the project name. They're still doing things like Intel Core 365K or 365FK, because their previous generation was Intel Core 255 or something like that. So they're still doing numbers, but in terms of projects, they're just doing, you know, lakes. You know, Nova Link, Panther Link, and what have you. I can play Marvel Rivals as long as I don't use anything else. This This old quad core does the job, but I would like more beef to it if I can for streaming. Just about anything I'd like. Yeah. If money wasn't a problem, I would. So I actually have a list. Hang on a second. I actually have like a desirable list of what it is that I want to have. Let me go to PC Part Picker Australia. Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, I'm gonna need to sign into this thing. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Excuse me. All right. So this is like. So this build is probably. Oh, it has some potential incompatibility issues. Okay, so I'm gonna need to change from Fractal North to something else. Hang on a second. Hey! Sorry, I just need it. I'm just gonna really quickly go... Oh, I like Fractal North, but I'm probably... okay, let's go Fractal North XL. Will it be compatible? Yes, it's compatible with the XL. Excellent. All right. All right, here we go. So, this is... Oh, wait. It's not even showing. There we go. All right. So, Oh, hang on. There we go. All right, so this is like the best case. This is like the best case scenario. The chip is i6, i8, and the architecture is different then. So this is like the PC build I would love to make in the future. I would love to go over to Intel Core. I know I could go to an Intel, like, I know Intel Core 9, like Ultra 9 is like the best one, but really for my like usage and such, I can get away with a 7. So, like, you know, I'd move over to the Intel Core Ultra series, and from the sounds of it, like their 3rd generation for desktop and such might be really good. Hi there, Freckles. Welcome, welcome. They keep stealing my shirt, even though I have a new redeem where you can randomize the shirt that I'm wearing or go for a particular design and such. They keep stealing it. It's unfair. But yeah, like, so, you know, Intel cooler, go with, you know, liquid cooling. The reason why I want to go for liquid cooling is because I'm using, you know, I'm using a high performance CPU, and I'm going to be living in Australia where, quite frankly, it's going to get hot pretty quickly. And if I can dissipate the heat over a greater radiator, then this is going to be a lot better. If I wanted to cheap out on the CPU cooler, then I could maybe go for an air cooler. But, you know, so motherboard, go with the Z89. So then that way, if there's a potential for overclocking, there is. But this one has way more PCI lanes, and there's plenty of USBs for me. Oh boy, the memory I chose back when I first put this list together is no longer available. That's going to be a tough one. Storage, 4 terabyte SSD drive. It's an NVMe. I went with 4 terabyte because this is a decent size. It will hold most of my data, especially on OneDrive and what have you. If I wanted to expand out this drive, I'd probably get like a second drive that was another SSD, but I would try and go larger than 4 terabytes if I could. 5080. As much as I would love a crazy 5090 or something like that with like 32 gigs of RAM, the 5080 will be suitable for me. Like 16 gigs of RAM, especially like, you know, efficiency wise, like this would work out for me. And the reason why I went for PNY is because, quite frankly, like many of the, like there are small differences between all the different aftermarket boards, but quite frankly, unless one of them has fucked up in terms of like their configuration and such, you will hear about it. You will hear about, you know, whatever board fucking up on their aftermarket configurations on the NVIDIA or AMD cards. PNY is about reference or slightly better than reference. And then I went with the Fractal Design North because there's wood panels on the front. I like it. I went with this fucking monster of a power supply because, quite frankly, I need at least 800 watts of power in order to, you know, have everything run. And if I have an additional like hard drive or SSD, that will increase the power. If I do an additional graphics card, that will increase the power by a big margin, but I'm not likely going to be running 2 graphics cards in the one machine. So this one is to go for something future-proofy. And this is a this is a hella big power supply. This will last me like for, you know, generations. And it, like, you do not want to cheap out on your power supply. You want a good power supply, because that thing, so long as you don't break it, that's going to be following you around when you do upgrades or swaps or repairs. For my sister's PC, I had her get a 9950X Arctic Freezer. These are 64 gigs of Team Group RAM, a 2 terabyte Samsung 990 Pro, the Ostrix motherboard, Fractal Design North, and a 1000-watt Seasonic. You... goddamn, Fizz Tiger, that's a good PC. Damn good. So you got something that's like 400 watts higher. So if nothing else, will degrade to 900 watts at year 12. Potentially. But, you know, if I have a PC that's running on the same stuff for 12 years, that's pretty good. Also, this is like hang on, let me... Cyber... So there's a different, is it cybernetics? So everyone knows about the, certification of, like, you know, gold, platinum, and what have you. Like, where is it? So, there used to be, like, a very simplified one in terms of, rating. Like, hang on. Nope. Pause that. PSU rating gold. So there used to be 80 plus. That's it. So 80 plus used to be like, you know, just a trademark arc, and like, you know, they did all these different kinds of it. Like the whole point of it was like, oh, is it good at the 80% proficiency and such like that? It was a very simplified system. So like you had all these different grades. It was really easy to get to gold. Like after a few years and such. So cybernetics started their own certification, and they went with 2 different they have it split into 2 different certifications, like efficiency and noise. Believe it or not, noise kind of matters in a PSU. I could post my PC build if you have it on PC Parts Picker. Yeah, give it a share. She is still waiting to buy a 5080, so I put my 2060 from my old PC in it for now. Ah, okay. But yeah. So like right now, the build that I have right now is a 5950X CPU and a 3090. So my build is still good. Like, I'm not going to be able to play at like the highest build quality in games going forward for like the next year or two, but I can still play, you know, 1440p, high quality, and what have you, depending on the optimization of the game. Like, I still have a good bit of energy out of this PC. It operates weirdly with some of the games that I've played. I don't know if you were here for it, Fizz, but some of the video games I have would do these weird like micro stutters or freezes. It happened a lot in Mafia Remastered and Mafia 3. I got so annoyed with when it was happening in Devil May Cry Reboot, DMC, that I went and bought DMC on the PlayStation so I could play it on there, so then that way I didn't have the stuttering problem when trying to get through action games and such. This was such a problem. I was in a Discord call with like several other Aussies that were like computer aficionados and such, and we could not solve it. We went with like, I wiped and rebuilt my PC. Like, I rebuilt it from scratch. Like, I went for an entirely new operating system. I made sure, like, all my drivers were up to date, and for whatever reason, it would start micro-stuttering. And I was on a PC build that was more powerful than what DMC at the time of a release could recognize. And some fucking how, I still got micro-stutters. It was in fucking sanity. What in the fucking shit is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm what? What? Can I show this on stream, Lightstrife? Actually, if you sent me the link, like 256 gigs, yeah, you've got 8 sticks of RAM. Like you have 8 sticks of DDR4 RAM. What in the actual fuck? Also, why it's being presented as like individual sticks, I don't know why you did it in that fashion, but like, holy fucking shit. Hang on. Ding, dong, bam. Like, let me show you this, chat. Like, look at this. Also, why is my... Like, look at this. Like, respectfully good Intel i9. Like, that is fucking cooler. Fractal design. I wasn't aware they did CPU coolers, but hey, you know, at least it's not like a single fan CPU cooler. X299. But yeah, you got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sticks of Viper Steel. Don't know why it was RGB, but you know, not a set. Literally 32, yeah, gigabyte sticks. Yeah, DDR Thor 3600. You know, decent like CL. Hell, it's really good, low. But then it's like 2 terabytes of Western Digital. I would definitely be trying to like up that to like, you know, get yourself an additional like spinning disks, especially if you've got 256 gigs of RAM. You can definitely get away with a spinning disk drive being added on for like additional storage and such. You've got the RAM sticks to be able to do the random access memory nonsense. The A770, nice, good work. I like Intel Arc is like, I'm honestly impressed that so much of Intel Arc has just been a constant cadence of, we are pleasantly surprised that you are making this PC. To utilize 48 gig RAMs modules. So yeah. Excuse me. And then PCIe, and then it goes for the high power, and then I don't use the SATA, I'm not using the Molex. Molo unit, and then front radiator. It could be on the rear or the top. I'm personally of the idea of using it on the rear. But yeah, the RAM stick would have had this build costing like, you know, $6,000 or something, but now there's no price on it, so it's just, you know, $4,000. I'll need to find a different RAM stick to put into it and such. Give me a second. So, pleasantly surprised that Intel Arc cards surprisingly decent mid. They are. Like, that's the constant cadence that I've been hearing about Intel Arc is that they are just pleasant. It's a pleasant surprise and what have you. And if I wasn't like, you know, a streamer or something like that, if I wanted to come up with like a bang for your buck build, I probably would give Intel like an experiment of be like, yeah, let me just go on to, you know, the Intel Ultra Core CPUs with an Intel GPU and just try and like, you know, work within that ecosystem. Like, I would honestly give it a try. Let me show you my drive. Say that's not just the stuff I ordered. Ah, okay. You hate RGB stuff, but for RAM, I actually think it's best to have it. You can easily tell if something is working with it or if it's not because the RAM won't turn on. Yeah. So this is my current PC. I think I have a link to the current PC build as well, but yeah, 5950X, 16 cores, 32 threads. It's decent. It's good. Like, it doesn't do like the craziest performance and productivity and such, but you know, PC games, not a problem. The Corsair's IQ, I like it. It, you know, allows me to, you know, force it into like, you know, super fast mode. And if the temperature gets too high on my PC, the fans all go up to a 100%. And if it gets really hot, then the RGB on the front of the water cooler turns red. I like that. X5 Sentinel Aorus Master, a lot of features. I got this for the PC, like, because the graphics card that I have goes over like 2 or 3 slots. Like, that fucker has decided to like cover up not just 1 but 2 PCIe slots. The actress that played the Home Alone mom passed. Yeah, Catherine O'Hare. She passed away. She was in Schitt's Creek. She was in Beetlejuice. She was like 71 years old as well. She was not that old. Like, she could have, like, it's really upsetting that she's passed. 64 gigs of RAM, Corsair Vengeance. I don't like going for RGB, so hence why it's this one. I got a 6 terabyte spinning disk. I've got a 4 terabyte SSD as my main. There's the 3090. And then I went for this Fractal Design Vector RS Blackout. This PC case is really fucking big. I probably would actually go for a smaller like PC case in the future. Because yeah, it is just so, it's a long boy. It does not need to be that long. So, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 drives. At that point, like, I would just have a network access storage for your stuff with all those additional drives. Just get yourself, like, you know, your secondhand PC parts still missing 4 external drives. A USB controller needs to be reseated. Put together like a Unraid or however or whatever preference network access storage system you want, because you can just use old PC parts to build it. That's what I've done with mine. 850, like this wattage, this fucker is like working like 99% of its power right now. The kids that played in the movie said a heartfelt farewell to their movie. Yeah, I saw it. I saw that too. This was the build I wanted next, but just going to put it off for now. All right, hang on. Let me...
Hello!
Hi there, Vector. Welcome, welcome. We're just looking at different PC builds in this just chatting thingamadiggy. So yeah, that's my build, and I've got like these additional fans, and I got that monitor. I've got like 3 monitors going off. I use the MX Keys keyboard, and then actually I can go for a different... I need to replace this mouse because I'm no longer using the MX Master 3. I use these Yamahas for speakers. I still have the same... This camera, the C920... That used to be a cheapest chips camera and is now so expensive. It makes no fucking sense. All right, let's have a look at this one. 9800X3D. That's a fucking powerful CPU. The NZXT Kraken Elite. Yep, 3. That's a good size CPU cooler. Republic of Gaming Strix. Very heavy. Ooh, Wi-Fi 7 as well. 64 gigs of T Group. Honestly, I'd probably look into T Group. They're not popping up a lot on like the qualified vendor list on some of the motherboards that I've been looking at, but I'll definitely give them another look because there must be something of compatibility between Team Group and some of the motherboards I've been looking at. 2 terabyte drive, a 4 terabyte drive, 5080. Interesting that the Republic of Gaming, oh, wait, is this in US? Amazon.com, Newegg, Amazon. Yeah, this is in the US. I was about to say, like, holy shit, like, your Republic of Gaming 5080 is, like, the same cost as, like, my one. And then, oh, lo and behold, turns out the reason why is because that's American price. So, quite frankly, it's more like $3,000 over in Australia. And then a Seasonic Vertex. Nice. Nice. Actually, what rating is the Seasonic Vertex? Is it... It says platinum there. I wonder, is it platinum... Hang on. Cybernetics... Give me a second. I need a... Is there a way for me to change the... Here we go. General information. Evaluations of CPUs. Is there a way for me to go like to a particular CPU? Come on, cybernetics. Read more. Join art. Power supplies. Here we go. Search. Sonic. All right. Sonic. There we go. And then Vertex. You were PX, I believe. So yeah, platinum. Ooh, an A grade on noise. That's good. So that's a better noise level than mine. Mine's just standard. Hi there, Shoto. Also, Zeebs, the Land Before Time fan movie is getting some serious attention now as they hire professional VAs, and Ducky is getting voiced by Ash Ketchum's English voice actor. Oh, nice. I have not seen Land Before Time in a long time. Is it still devastating to watch? How many Land Before Time movies are there? Hang on a second. Land Before Time movie list. It's a franchise consisting of American animated adventure family films centered around dinosaurs, including theatrical movies, various straight-to-home video sequels, and a spin-off TV show. Okay, we've got Land Before Time from 1988, Land Before Time, The Great Valley Adventure, Land Before Time 3, Land Before Time 4, 5, 6, 7, The Big Freeze is 8, 9 is The Journey to the Big Water, 10 is The Great Long Neck Migration, 11 is The Invasion of the Tyrannosaurus. So they've been doing this, like, so it looked like 1988, and then from 94, 5, 6, 7, 8, then there was a bit of a year and a bit gap, so 2000, 2001, 2, 3, bit of a 2-year gap. Cookie for Night Sky! Here's your cookie, Night Sky! Welcome, welcome! The Invasion of Tyrannosaurus was 2005, and then we had the 12th one, which was 2006, and then 13, 14. We've got 14 Land Before Times. These ones feel the odd one out in terms of cartoons. Like what in the... Okay, so that was a direct-to-video one in the Land Before Time series. Created by Don Bluth, you fucking madman. So they did an animated series from 2007 to 2008. And there's been a theme park attraction from 1997 to 1998. So yeah, so the theatrical, so there's only been one theatrical, and that was the first one, The Land Before Time. They then went through 13 in direct-to-home DVDs, and then they did a television. Holy shit! So I'll be real with you. I thought like the first like 4 would have been movies that were like, you know, theatrical releases, but then like I guess, you know, Don Bluth was only the director of the first one, it looks like. God damn, Don Bluth, you've done some work. The name is like really, really iconic. Here it is. Notable works. The Secret of Nim, An American Tale, The Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Thumbelina? Thumbelina feels like an odd one out. Anastasia, yep, I remember Anastasia. Titan AE, that one didn't, I don't know if that works well. Dragon's Lair from 1983. Dragon's Lair and Space Ace are like video games. And then Toby Bluth. How am I doing? Hi there, Big DJ. Good news. I have a place to live come February 11th. That was like the whole point of why I started this just chatting stream, by the by, was to give everyone on chat an opportunity to learn the good news, which was that I have a place to live, like, you know, come February 11th. It will still be a relatively tight window for moving and bond cleaning and such, but I'm hoping that when I hear word from the real estate agent on Wednesday on whether or not there will be a whether or not there will be like someone else canceling on an appointment or something like that, I might be able to pick up my keys earlier. The sooner the better in my mind, but I need the positive vibes to, you know, I need the positive vibes in order to do the thingamadoogies. Also, hi there, Witch Dragon. Welcome, welcome. I too am late. Morning, afternoon, evening, night, everyone. In case I won't be seeing you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. The TV show had Chomper, and over after that was his baby sister. I remember the show. Love Chomper. Look up the fan film. Did they not include the fan film here? Land Before Time. Fan film. It's gonna pop up in the news, isn't it? Land Before Time remake shares first look at CG Littlefoot in action. Inside the Magic, the BBC. Damn. Has been cast in the lead role of a remake of the 1980s classic Land Before Time. Will play Littlefoot in the reboot of Steven Spielberg's 1988. They say it was Steven Spielberg that did the Land Before Time, but like Don Bluth, whatever. Summer Jules was given the role after a successful second audition in which she put pencils in her mouth to sound like she was eating like a dinosaur. Littlefoot will be directed by British filmmaker Joey Lever, who is best known for creating fan film Spider-Man Lost Cause in 2014. I do not remember that fan film. What the fuck is Spider-Man Lost Cause? How? Goodness gracious. Wow. Can't believe I didn't hear about this. Sorry, I just gotta close tabs now because there's too many of them. I don't like having too many tabs. I like trying to keep my my tabs in, like, you know, a relatively minimal length. Close that. There we go. I like keeping tabs on you. Hi there, Blue. Welcome to the stream. How Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Nintendo 2 Switch Edition. You really should have done Breath of the Wild. Like, you didn't need to do, like, the full length for when you were just streaming, because you're not speed running the fucker. You can just do your own thing. You're back from ads. You got ads for tacos and injectable prep? The fuck is prep? Ding dong. Pre-exposure prophylaxis. Taken by HIV negative individuals to prevent HIV infection. Ah, okay, so that's what it is. Oh, piece of shit. Sorry. You're still out? I gotta go to the butcher. Gotta get them meats. But yeah, hopefully you're having a wonderful Sunday, Blue. Happy February 1st. Wake up. It's the 1st of the month. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah.
Glug, glub, glug, glub, glug.
Alright, hang on. You know what? I'm just gonna go into standing mode for a quick minute. Alright, just need to make sure that my, There we go. Alright. Standing mode. Oh. Damn, that was a nice crack of the back. Taco Tuesday ad run. Taco Tuesday! Let's go. I feel like tacos... Mexican night is always going to be on Tuesdays, isn't it? Just because of the cadence. And then Friday is going to be pizza. I feel like pizzas is a Friday thing. Is pizza a Friday thing, or is it a different kind of meal for Fridays? What's the Friday meal? I feel like it's pizza. I could be wrong, but I feel like Friday's for pizzas. So... And then Thursday's like leftovers. Nose. Excuse me. There we go. Alrighty. Where's my brain at? Oh, yeah. The also, what is this? Oh, that's low. I need to go back over into lo-fi because that's not official. That was not official lo-fi music that I'm allowed to play. So yeah, the that was something else. All right, where is my Opera GX? There's my Opera GX. No, not that cat guitar jack. God fucking damn it. Ooh, Don Bluth Studios, formerly Sullivan Bluth Studios, was an Irish-American animation. Performed Don Bluth Productions, later known as the Bluth Group. Then co-founded with an American businessman Gary Coleman, John Pamodi, and Norris in 1985. Screen in Ireland. Don Bluth Entertainment. Okay, so there's like something called Don Bluth Studios. Any whoosies. Looking up Don... It came up because we were looking up, like, Littlefoot, like, the fan film for Land Before Time. And, like, it's one of those cases of you look something up, and then my brain gets distracted looking up all the different stuff. So, yeah. So, me just being, you know, weird autism ADHD thingamadoogie of just like, hang on, need to look at this thingamadoogie. Hang on, need to look at that thingamadoogie. Hang on, need to look at this thingamadoogies. I get easily distracted and what have you. Big mood. Yeah, smooth. So yeah, so where was I in my... So yeah, I've already shared the good news to chat. It's going to be a tight window, but, you know, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll get my keys before February 10th. I'll be taking time off from work from, like, this Friday to next Wednesday. So, you know, I'll have, like, a good, like, 5 days. Granted, it includes a weekend, so who knows how successful that will be. But there will be several days where I'll be able to, you know, pack up most of this place up to, like, you know, the final little bits, and then, you know, move into a new place. I should probably, like, when I go into the new place, probably do, like, a new background thingy-majiggy. Because, like, you know, this one I've had for, like, you know, a year or two, and I should probably come up with, like, a different one at some point. Like, I like having, like, the little, like, corner slightly faded out in the background kind of thing, but maybe I need to go for something else at some point. Something that would actually be a little more supportive of having a, maybe something going off in the background or something like that if I want. Because I know there's, like, 3D control. There's so many things in my to-do list that I want to do. That is either me having to buy it or me having to make it. Like, so, because, like, on one hand, it's like, yeah, let's do, like, a new 3D environment and such like that, despite the fact I haven't been in Blender in well over a month, or several months, really. And then over on the other side, I have a mobile phone that is running out of battery life faster than I can charge it some days, so I need to replace my phone at some point, especially when in March, I'm going to be going up to Texas to meet up with Unnamed and a whole ton of other people for Texas Furry Fiesta. So I kind of want to have a mobile device that is, you know, kind of an upgrade from what because, like, this mobile device... Oh, charger fell. This mobile device that I have is the iPhone 11. I got that iPhone 11 when it first came out because previously I was on an iPhone 6. I'm one of those kinds of people with mobile devices where I want to try and make it so that I get, like, a good 5 years out of the mobile phone. I feel like 5 years is a reasonable ask for a mobile device. Now, I did have to repair or swap out the battery before the 5-year mark, which is really annoying. I think I repaired the battery back in... Let's see. 2 years ago, I think I repaired the battery 2 years ago when I was up in the States, like, last time. And there was, like, no, 3 years ago. I repaired it 3 years ago. The 11th software is still working. I'm shocked. Yeah, no, it still gets updates and what have you. I think right now they're only, like, they're on, let me have a look at the version. Oh, it wants to do another software update. Fuck's sake. I tried my darndest to keep it off of doing updates. Here we go. It's currently on iOS 26.2. Like, actually, let me go on to Opera GX. Like, cause iPhone versions. So, like, here's, like, people don't realize this, but, like, the iPhone like, their support goes on for a while. So, like, look at this. January 2026, the iPhone 5S, the iPhone 6, through the SE, all the way, like, these are all compatible until, like, till this year. Meanwhile, like, in terms of keeping support, the iPhone 11 is still supported. So it's been alive for like 6 years and 4 months. So that's pretty decent. So I'm looking to upgrade from like an iPhone 11 to like either an iPhone 16 Pro or iPhone 17 Pro. Like, I'm looking to go into one of those phones. I feel like I'm better off going for like a secondhand iPhone 16 Pro because the upgrade from 11 to 16 is going to be a decent one. But I feel like it's one of those cases where like there's enough of 17, like both 16 and 17 are reasonable upgrades from the 11. But like a part of me doesn't like the idea of going into like last year or the year before's model. So like, yeah, it's a little bit tricky. And yeah, what's more is like this iPhone 17 has only been around for like, 4 months. I love how it's like this thing is discontinued but is supported. So like, yeah. So also look at this, like yeah. So basically from the iPhone 11 they're still supported. These guys are going to be discontinued after January 20 so a couple days ago they would have been stopped and such. But yeah, my last, like the iPhone I had before the iPhone 11 was the iPhone 6. That fucker lasted. And from the looks of it, it looks like it was supported until, like, they discontinued it in 2018, and they've only just now stopped its support. So I got to the iPhone 11 in September 2019. So I got it 4 years after iPhone 6 was discontinued and such. So, and let's see, this thing was discontinued in 2020. So yeah, no, I think I'm doing a decent job. Nice. You have a 15 Pro. It's nice. Wouldn't mind the newer cameras, but mine are still pretty good for a phone camera. Yeah. The phone elevation, like, it is nice. Like, I feel like, especially, like, when you have, like, more than 2 generations upgrade, it's a good upgrade. I don't understand people that are like, oh, I was on the iPhone 16 Pro, but now I'm on the iPhone 17 Pro. Like, the actual difference between those two phones in particular is not that much. iPhone 15 Pro to iPhone 16 Pro also was not that much either. There's like a website out there. Hang on a second. Let me find it. There was a website that I went to that gave, like, a lot of detail about, like, the different iPhone. Here it is. The, copy link address. Ding. Dong, bam. This website here had like a lot of information about like color options and such, and it's unfortunate that you can't like do a compare and contrast easily from here, but like the cameras have not changed that much between the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 17 Pro. There's been small updates in the CPU, obviously, but the CPU clock is only gone like slightly lower. It's only one uplift in the CPU. RAM is the same. Connectivity is the same across the board. Like, look at this. Like the Pro Max has like a 5x zoom. Let me get to 17 Pro. Here we go. We're gonna be like clicking back and forth. So yeah. So 48 main, ultra wide, and telephoto. So this is 48 main, and then they did a 12 for the ultra wide and telephoto. It's interesting that they got rid of the 3x zoom on this thing. So they've only got like these two. So they've obviously changed how they're going to be doing like, the wider lenses and what have you. Okay. And then Bluetooth 6, NFC reader. Did this thing have an NFC reader? Yeah, it did have an NFC reader. Wi-Fi 7 with 2x2. Wi-Fi 7, 2x2, then they had a gigabit and 5G sub. And then, yep, gigabit, 5G sub, second generation ultraband, threat edit networking, and then, firmware is firmware. So yeah, so compare that to the iPhone 11 I'm not even on a Pro. I'm just on an iPhone 11. Like, front camera is only a 12 megapixel. Rear camera is still only a 12 megapixel. So like going up to the where's the 16? So going from like 12 megapixel with an additional, is there an additional? What, do they have the stats on the second camera or no? It doesn't look like they have the stats on the second camera, which is the same. So it must be another 12 pixel. So to go from a 12 pixel to like a 48 with an additional 12 pixel is pretty decent. So that's the kind of upgrade I want to try and do, is go for either a secondhand iPhone 16 Pro or an iPhone 17, depending on my finances. I'm still on a 12 Pro Max. It's doing great other than needing a battery. Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now with my one, is that this thing needs a battery replacement. But I've already replaced the battery like, you know, two or 3 years ago. So, which is really unfortunate. So it's showing its age in like weird places. What's more is sometimes blurry photos. I don't know why. The camera is just not that great. Also, it's not really great when I need to take really quick snaps with things that I didn't think was that far away. But then for whatever reason, when I take the photo, it looks so zoomed out. So more often than not, when I'm taking photos of things, I'm already zooming into the telephoto length of like, oh, let me go up to 2 times zoom in order to get something that, to my eyes, you know, doesn't look that far away. Maybe I have weird telephoto eyes or something like that, where I'm just on like, you know, predator watch mode, where I'm just sort of like, enhance. Pew! So yeah. So that's one of the purchases, is new phone when I go to especially like before I go up to Texas for the Texas Furry Fiesta. So then that way I have like a decent camera that will last me like a majority of the day and take really good photos. And then let's see, what's new, having a car. That's like the biggest one. That one I'm probably going to do like long-term savings on and such, and try and, I don't want to go for a car loan, quite frankly. Like I know like you can get like a beater for like 10 grand or something like that, but I don't want to have to go for like a 10 grand car loan. I'd much rather go for like maybe, you know, maybe put down like $5,000 on up front and then do like a small, like $5,000 loan, because that's amazing. Like, I don't know. I know this is in the States at the very least because of like TikTok videos and such, but like car dealerships make their money from shady car loans. That's how they're getting their money and what have you. So that's why, you know, I don't want to go into like, you know, I don't want to go into like a high interest rate loan or something like that. Like, I would much rather try and, you know, only have a loan for, I don't know, maybe 3 years or something like that on the car that I pick up. And I would like to go for a car that's like, you know, automatic and, you know, just, it's able to hold me, +1, maybe +2, because like, you know, as a friend has told me, it's a rite of passage that when you get a car, the first thing you're doing with the car is going through like, you know, a midnight drive-through of McDonald's. It's a rite of passage in Australia or something. Apparently, yeah, always do a late night Macca's run in your first car. So there's that. But be able to hold like, you know, trunk space. Is it? I never did it. Velk, we need to do a late night Macca's run. Nah, we don't have to do that. But yeah, so that's like the big savings goal. We do not. I don't eat McShit. Look, you might think it's shit, but like it is not a coincidence that anytime fast food like starts up, like it needs to have every one of their products equal to or greater than McDonald's. It doesn't matter how good your burgers are. If your chips are shit, you're better off just going for McDonald's, because you have the, like, McDonald's is the baseline. You cannot operate as a fast food joint if there's anything that operates less than McDonald's quality. Like, it is a metric. You don't have to be better in everything McDonald's does, but if you're going to be good at something, you need to make sure nothing is worse than McDonald's. That's how it goes. Especially, you could probably like skirt around the ruling by not selling things that you're not going to be good at, but I feel like people might get wise to, you know, maybe something that that you're not selling, and they're like, oh, well, usually I can get this and this at McDonald's, so I might as well just try and get both from the one place. You hate the fries at Macca's, man. I'm trying to think, like, I know, like, you ask an Australian where the best French fries are, and many of them are going to tell you it's like Red Rooster or KFC. I'm personally not a fan of those chips. I reckon, like, I feel like my favorite chips, like, quite frankly, I think are McDonald's. I don't know why. I like thin crinkles. Otherwise, maybe grilled for their wedges. You love soggy chips, especially with the potato and gravy. Yeah. Like, you're Australian. Like, actually, Jack, what chips do you like? I'm curious. What's like a good what's a franchise that does good chips for you? Because you're not in Australia, so so I'm kind of curious if it's a franchise they've even heard of. You personally like chunkier chips, wedges, crinkle cuts, and steak cut fries. Yeah, no, steak cut fries I think are my favorites as well. I think steak cuts are really good, especially the ones you can get from like grocery stores and such. So the steak cuts there. God, I don't use my air fryer much. Ever since I went on my diet, the air fryer's just been sitting in the kitchen. Oh, that reminds me, I need to put that in a box as well. Actually, quite frankly, I'm probably gonna put my chips need to have heft to them. Valid, I guess. If I had to pick from fast food places, I do like the fries from a place called Texas Chicken. Texas Chicken? Actually, no, you're not in Malaysia. You're in, Let's have a look. Texas Chicken. Taste of Tex. I need to share this with Unnamed. Crunchiest zesty wraps, and check out the Texas Chicken. They're really thick chips. I will be real. The deluxe breakfast platter looks kind of cool. Ooh, Mexicana looks good. Where's their chips? Hang on. Menu. Classic sides. Here we go. Let's have a look at their sides. So these are the chips. They're decent heft. And they remind me of KFC chips just a bit. Are they like soggy chips? God, I remember getting my first car, a 15-year-old Ford Ranger, and me and the boys going through the Ivar's drive-thru at 3 a.m. Yeah. So, a friend has told me that when I do get my first car, we're gonna need to do that. It's crunchy and heft. Ooh, it's a crunchy heft. Oh, is this like, Actually, I want to change my answer. If it's not, like, I can get behind McDonald's, but kebab joints. The chips from kebab joints are my favorite. They're crunchy chips, but they are hefty chips, especially the ones you get in halal snack packs and what have you. Those are the chips I love. Those are probably my favorite chips. If I can get like here's the thing. I wish, like, I reckon Uber Eats would be so fucking powerful if we ever got to this kind of moment. But I would love the idea of, like, maybe you're in a food court or something like that. And instead of going for everything through the one store, you do something where it's like, all right, you get your chips from KFC, you get your burger from McDonald's, and you get like a shake from Donut King or something like that. Like, I would love just mixing and matching in the food court. And I reckon that was like the original reason for the food court, is not so that you pick your favorite store and then go at the table. It's so then that way you have a central point for your eating, and then you just go off to like the other stores and pick and choose your favorites. That, I reckon, would be a, that's probably what I should do. I also remember a week later using it to tow my buddy's Civic out of a riverbank. Jesus Christ, Fed boy. Did you tell your buddy you can't park there? So great. Anytime you see a car, like, you know, in a place that it shouldn't be, you just gotta remind them, you can't park there. Please do. I really like the chicken from Texas. But yeah, this is on my this will be on my to-do list. So yeah, what's the Starbucks? Chicken and Mexicana wrap, like chicken tenders, chicken Mexicana burger, like. Crunchy fried chicken on honey butter biscuit. Ooh, regular mashed potatoes and a soft drink. Respectable, respectable. I like that. Cool, cool. But yeah, Tex wrap. What's the difference between Tex and Mexicana? 2 pieces spicy marinated chicken, battered, breaded. Spicy mayonnaise, American cheese, tomato, diced red onions, tortilla chips. Ah, the tortilla chips, nice. Shredded lettuce, wrapped in a flour tortilla and toasted until crispy. Sounds delicious. The one reason I visit Jack's home country is for the Texas chicken. Going to Southeast Asia for some Texan chicken. You got the fucking kids that get addicted to it. Oh, they bake it from scratch? That I don't believe you. It's a fast food joint. They're gonna have like a bag of the honey butter biscuits, and they're gonna put them in a deep fry. You telling me they're doing it from scratch? I don't believe you, Jack. I've seen fast food joints. They're like from scratch. There's only so much that is done before it's like, you know, they just have it ready. Unlike me, my buddy was wealthy, so his parents went out of town for Christmas break that year. His car was parked on the same riverbank he always parked it on. Problem is that when they had a pretty gnarly fucking week-long rainstorm, it flooded the river. Popeyes used to do them from scratch, but they started using some pre-made shit that sucks ass. Okay. Sorry, I just have now the Tobuscus, like, video. Nugget, biscuit, nugget and a biscuit. Nugget, biscuit, nugget and a biscuit. Nugget, biscuit, nugget and a biscuit. Dip it all in mashed potato. We're now at the stage of me just sort of like having just some fun word salad going off in my head. Nugget, biscuit, nugget and a biscuit. Nugget, biscuit, nugget and a biscuit. Nugget, biscuit, nugget and a biscuit. Dip it all in mashed potato. Yes, I'm weird that way. Take a spoonful of flour, some salt, and eat that kind of ass. Oof. Goddamn Popeyes, you fell off. Why do we get in shitification, honestly? Current series starts. So we started Crash Bandicoot, so we're on to second, moving on to third. At some point, I need to renew my Final Fantasy. BioShock Infinite. PlayStation 4 requires a PlayStation. Try to get in late Feb. Drop the Long Drive, drop Ninja, drop the Yakuza, drop Psychonauts, drop Need for Speed. I don't know what I was fucking playing that was a Need for Speed game. Forza Horizon 5, Dying Light 2, Path of Exile, Sniper Elite. Final Fantasy from 1 to 6. Okay, so I have started Crash Bandicoot, so I can take that off the list. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Oofies. That's gonna be a tough one. Game series. Yep. I don't know why Star Dragon thought I would play Gran Turismo. Code definitely wants me to go through God Eater. But, actually, technically speaking, Code Vein by extension. But wants me to God Eater first. Cap wants me to go through, like, Undertale and Delta. Never played Undertale and Deltarune. Dark Messiah was Goldie's request. Maybe when that becomes available on GOG, I'll play it. Merry Christmas, Resident Fedbud. Jack got you a nice jacket, Tyson got you a new baseball, and I got you a car out of the river. You will second Code on... Wait, on what? On God Eater or Code Vein? Do you have a recommendation of a franchise? God Eater. Okay. There we go. You hated Code Vein? Damn. Fun fact, like Code Vein, I think was like the first one that Code and I were like, oh yeah, maybe we should play that one together, because I was getting into some Dark Souls games and I was like, it would be nice to have like a more co-op-y game. And he's like, oh yeah, Code Vein is that. And then he's going through God Eater. I'd ask you to play Bioshock, but I think you said you have it on your... Yeah, it's on my list. I've already gone through Bioshock 1 and 2, so now I've got Bioshock Infinite left to do at some point. So these are the games that I've got started. We got Crash Bandicoot. I'm currently at the second one. Dark Souls, it's very tempting to, you know, drop it, but a part of me also wants to, like, go back to the second one and start from scratch. Would you play Pacific Drive? Hang on. I don't know why I wrote it as the long drive. I dropped that. Cause like, it's okay. I would probably play Pacific Drive off stream, frankly, like when I was playing Terraria to like, you know, free up my brain and such like that. Like, actually, maybe, so... Let me do a new category. So, heading, off-stream games. Also, is this the right heading? Oh no, this needs to be heading 2. Okay. So, off-stream games. So, the games that I've played off-stream are, ding. Monster Hunter Wilds. Well, technically speaking, like, Monster Hunter Wilds I did play on stream, but, you know, it's more often playing. Mega Bonk. Minecraft. Like, sometimes I play, like, like, modded stuff, like RL. Modded. IE. RL. Craft. It's really tempting to play the Pokemon one that you were talking about, Jack. I don't know what that one is. Whatever works for you, Lamau. That's what it is. I've been streaming for like 4, coming on to 5 years. You think I would know what would be an appropriate one to play, but you know, I still don't know. What's another one that I've been playing like off stream?
Nani?
You know what? I think I'll just leave it at that. What Pokemon? I know I keep recommending Cassette Beast. No. There's like someone was playing a modded Minecraft where it was like there was like Pokemon or something like that, or like that. Like it was a modded Minecraft. Cobblemon. I'm just gonna put that. Maybe Cobblemon. There we go. So there we go. Off-stream games. What's another off-stream game? Oh, Donkey Kong Bonanza. That was another one. I actually went through quite a bit of Donkey Kong Bonanza when I was stuck on the cruise. Would you play Risk of Rain 2 again? Actually, yeah. I'll be real, it's very tempting, like, trying to play some of the other characters of Risk of Rain 2. Because, like, the only Risk of Rain character that I've used to get to the end was the Bowman, whatever the character's name is and what have you. So I've not gotten a lot of characters through to the end and what have you. Like, excuse me, there we go. Risk of Rain was a good one. Sorry, I'm just moving from like standing mode into seated mode now. Because, yeah. Bonanza. I have the other characters obtained. Legit, yes. Oh yeah, total. Sure. What's another off-stream game? Oh yeah, hang on. Series chat wants to start. So Blue wants me to go through Age of Empires 2. And then what was the other one? There was like a girl fighting game you were talking about. Hang on, I'm gonna need to find Blue's DMs again and find the thingamadiggies. Let me find it. Where the fuck is it? Uh... Mm-hmm. Where the fuck is it? Where the fuck are you? Damn it, can't find it. I'm just absolutely terrible at trying to, like, find the fucking things. River City Girls. There we go. Thank you. River City Girls. Oh no, Grant is still chatting? Yeah. Like, this is one of those things where if you get me in a video game, I'm probably not going to be like a crazy chatter and such. But, like, if I'm in just chatting, I will most certainly, I will actually be a yapper. Like, I have had, unnamed Yeen, you know, they say this so many times that I wasn't believing them at first, where they were like, oh yeah, like, Grant's skill is that he's a yapper. Like, if you can get him, like, on a topic and such, he will yap. He will yap for a long while. So, Age of Empires 2, River City Girls. Honestly, it's very tempting. Actually, do I have... Give me a second. I'm just gonna run play night real quick. I just need to double check something. I pay attention when my friends yap Lamau. I appreciate that, Jack. I know I score really... Fun fact, chat. There was, like... You know what Jack did to me? You know what Jack did to me, like, you know, a couple days ago when I was, like, in the panic of, like, looking for a place to live and such? Jack sent me a fucking Google form. They sent me a quiz to be like, oh, hey, how well do you know Jack the Crow? They fucking tested me on how well I knew my friends on the internet and such. I can barely remember people's names and faces, and I was getting hit with like a 25 questionnaire on things like, oh, what's their current obsession? What are some of the... Trust me, no one got above 14 points. Oh, damn! Holy shit! I must be decent in the curve. I would love to see the math. I would love to see the bell curve in regard... Like, how many people did you send this quiz to? I would love to see the bell curve of, like, oh, this many, like, you know, successful entry... like, you know, successful question answered and what have you. Because I think I was, like, a third of them was correct, so I was, like, 7 or 9 questions correct. You got 11 responses so far. Okay, so not really a good, not going to be that strong of a spread. Sorry, right? Sorry, I'm just looking through Play Night right now just to double check some of the games that so that's GOG and then Steam. So I've got... Okay, so I have the definitive editions of Age of Empires 2, and Age of Empires 3. I don't know where my Age of Mythology, why it's like grayed out and such, because I'm pretty sure I have Age of Mythology. Fires over Rubicon. I've got a lot of Assassin's Creed. God, that was the day. Also, what game is here? Oh, that's the open beta for Battlefield 6. I can probably get rid of that at some point. The puzzle game Camera Obscura was not fun. Oh my god, I got Cities Skyline. I do not remember getting Cities Skyline. Crab Champions, honestly, fun roguelike. Excuse me. Devil May Cry series, Dispatch was good. As fun as it might be playing Dishonored, Dishonored is not a game I think that would play well during stream, because I would do a lot of save scumming. Endless Legend, I was meh, very meh on that when I played that with Velk. I wasn't much for, like, you know, the 4X game design. Fallout could be good. There's the first 6 Final Fantasy games. That's on my to-do list. I don't know what the fuck Fuse is. I need to play more Grabbas. Oh! Grand Theft Auto 5. For whatever reason, I have Grand Theft Auto 5, but I've never played it. Maybe I should at some point. That'll probably be like an off-stream thing, honestly, as well. Grand Theft Auto 5. Oh, if I ever get a VR rig working for like streaming purposes and such, I expect you to die would be a good. If I didn't give you context for the teddy bear, you would have absolutely gotten it wrong. I still had no context for the teddy bear, Jack. I still had no... You make it sound like as if seeing the teddy bear told me its name. It was a fucking teddy bear, okay? There was... You didn't leave a name tag on it or something like that. You were like, oh, what did I name this bear? I was a child. It was a... I don't care. It's a teddy bear. Giving me a photo of a teddy bear didn't give me a hint to its name. I went by pure gut instinct on that bear. Thank you very much. Why would you think I would have named it more than a fucking polar bear? I'll be real with you. Like, if you showed me the photo of the bear and then asked me to type in the name of the bear, it wouldn't have been Polar. It would have been Pooh. I would have thought that you would have been a Christopher Robin kind of enjoyer and you would have named your bear Pooh Bear. I was that simple of a child, and I thought people were that simple in their younger years as well. Ah. You know what? I should have put that on the quiz. What, the, like, making it so that it had to be entered into, like, a text field rather than a multiple choice? Hi there, Renee Zach. Welcome, welcome. We're just yapping. I've, like, you know, shared the good news. Which 100 Acre Woods character do I like? Tigger. Actually, no, not Tigger. That's my favorite. Tigger's my favorite. Yours is... Kanga. You fucker. I don't know how much of a delay there is. It absolutely is. Damn it, my first instinct was right. Why did I doubt my first instinct? God damn it. Oh, goodness. I was like, Tigger is the superior choice. The wonderful thing about Tiggers are Tiggers are wonderful things. The tops are made of rubber. The bottoms are made of strings. The bouncy, 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 fun, 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 fun. The wonderful word about Tiggers is I'm the only one. I'm the only one. My favorite is Piglet. Look, like, you can have your favorites, all right? As we have learned from Pokemon, everyone has a favorite Pokemon. There is no Pokemon that has been created that isn't someone's favorite. There was a quiz long ago, that was done, where they had thousands of entries, and one of the questions was like, what's your favorite Pokemon? And this was during a time where we had Sword and Shield. There was a lot of good new ones. The only one that had less than 2 favorites was Rattata. Rattata was the only one that didn't have more than 2 favorites, I think it was. Hang on a second. Let me look this up for fact-checking purposes. Otherwise, Izzy the Fat Cat will, like, you know, smack me down. Pokemon quiz favorite Pokemon results. 2025. All right. Here are the results. So, 6 years ago, there was a favorite Pokemon survey testing the hypothesis every Pokemon is someone's favorite. From there, 4 Pokemon were not were not Silcoon, Gothita, Electrikick, and Yungoos. Now in 2025, with even more monster to choose from, you made a new survey, this time including all forms and variants. We got a total of 26,407 votes and some interesting results. Graphs below. Google Data. And I'll link my... I was very surprised to not see Charizard in the top 10. That is honestly surprising that Charizard was not in the top 10. Because I included every form variant, there were... Can I, like, hide this fucker? There we go. Read more. There were 130 Pokemon with 1 vote and 50 Pokemon with 0 votes. I will include the 0 voted Pokemon below, but the 1 vote Pokemon will be in the sheet to ensure you don't have to scroll for days. The data sheet has a lot of fun stuff like top 10 Pokemon per type. It's fun to go through. Alright, so the number 1 Pokemon, Mimikyu. Oh my god, is this the... Yeah! Oh my god. That, I feel like this must have been a coordinated effort. This is the Pokemon that... Oh, hello. Oh my god. Catch Pokemon by searching their names. What in the fuck? Oh, there's only 150. So I have to get like... That isn't... Your tracker is... Progress is tracked until you reset the game. Okay, that's cool. I'll give that a try another time. I feel like this is the Pokemon that, like, that's not, like, it looks like a Pikachu, but it's actually, like, hidden under the thingy-majiggies. Sylveon, of fucking course, one of the evolutions got it. Look at this flamboyant fucker. Look at this flamboyant fucker. It's first gen. Google has been doing it for ages. Ah, okay. Gengar for number 3. Yeah. Mudkip. Yep. Bulbasaur. That one is my first gen favorite grass type. Lucario. Eevee. Yep. Piplup. That's okay. Umbreon. Greninja. Greninja would be 4th place if we combined Ash's Greninja with Greninja. Maybe having all variants made this more complicated. Here is where the previous top 10 stand now. Charizard previously was number 1, is now dropped to 18th. Gengar went down 1 spot. Arcanine is now ranked 5th. God damn, Arcanine! Blaziken was ranked 5. Umbreon was 6. Lucario was 7. Gardevoir went from 8 to 62nd. That's a huge one. Eevee is 2nd. Dragonite is 21. Here are the number of votes per generation. So 20% of the votes went into Kanto region. That's valid. It's like the oldest region there. 14% went into the Hoenn region, which is Gen 3. Unova is Gen 5. That's interesting that it went 1, 3, 5. And then it goes Sinnoh, Johto. Aloha gets 8. I reckon because of the variants, Aloha is a little low. So, top Pokemon for each gen in order of generation. Gengar for Gen 1, Umbreon for Gen 2, Mudkip for Gen 3, Lucario for Gen 4, Oshawott for Gen 5, Sylveon for 6, Mimikyu for 7. Mimikyu is 7th gen? I thought Mimikyu was like a little more recent than that. Dragapult, Tinkaton. The 4 Pokemon that got no votes last time all got votes this round, although not many. Silcoon got 7, Gothitelle got 26, Electric got 7, Yungoos got 11. Okay, okay. Top starter Pokemon. Where's Trico? Trico's not in the top 10! Oh my god, that is so rude. At least Totodile got into the top 10. Hell yeah, Totodile. Good going, dinosaur. Broken record here, but still no Charmander. Least favorite starter in the datasheet. Majority of the favorite starter types is water, followed by fire, then grass, then ghost, then flying. The Pokemon with 0. Golbat, Huntail, Sliggoo, Tentacool. And then there's like all the different like cloak variants and such. That's a lot. Hang on, let me go to the sheet. So here's 2025. I need to reset this. I need to reset the zoom. This is too close. All right. So Kanto region. Control F to start. Okay. Which one do you think is my favorite, chat? Like, I know I've got a few favorites of Pokemon, but there is like one favorite that I'm kind of like, you know, I would love to try and get it in each generation when I have a chance. I'm wondering which, like, cause like my favorite starter is Trico. He's just like, the way they showed him off in the anime was really cool, and he doesn't look cool in his later evolutions. If it wasn't for like more powerful moves, I probably would have stuck as Trico. Def not Blitzil and Zebstrika Lamau. No, it's not Zebstrika. It's not a horse. I'll narrow it down for you. It's a Gen 1 Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon is a Gen 1. What the fuck is a Blitzil? Oh, it's the little horse. And then Strika is the big horse, isn't it? Yeah, Zebstrika is the big horse. I feel like my favorite horse Pokemon would be, it would either be Rapidash or... But yeah, what do you think is my favorite? You don't know your dang zebras. No, because I don't, like... Just because I have a zebra as a Fursona doesn't mean I have, like, a huge attraction or favoritism for zebra horse Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon is Snorlax. Let's see, where's Snorlax? Top 20. Yes, he's number 16! Fuck yeah, he's in the top 20. Let's go. Hell yeah. It's 162 votes. Hell yeah. Top 10 Pokemon by type. So wait, so in normal, he's number 3 in terms of normal type. Getting beaten out by of fucking course he gets beaten out by Eevee. Like, hell yeah, number 16. Let's go. Snorlax is friend shaped. Like, honestly, like, Snorlax is just so silly. Like, look at him. Like, also, I love how, like, you know, across the generations, like, if you look at, like, look at this. Look at this sprite. Like, he's just fucking lounging, and then he's rolling, and he's trying to get, he sits up, and now he's standing up in 2014. This man took 18, as it says there, only took 18 years for Snorlax to get up. Feel like I can relate. Like, Eevee is fabulous. Eevee's a cop-out. Eevee's a cop-out. But yeah. Nah, Snorlax is my, is me rocking with Corviknight and Murkrow. I know Murkrow is your favorite because you have a PNG tuber for, like, Discord stuff with the Murkrow. That's how I remember that Murkrow was your favorite. If I wanted to make my Pokemon, if I wanted to make my team of 6, is there a way? Hang on. So, Pokemon team of 6. Like, is there a maker? Here it is. Team Planner. Here we go. So, I went through Pokemon Emerald. So, if I had to pick Trico because of the starter, and then, let me just go down to the National Pokédex. Where are you? Where's Snorlax? Where's Snorlax? Should be here somewhere. Where the fuck? Oh, actually, let me just, so going through here. So we got our 3, and then Swellow as our bird Pokemon. You always gotta have a bird Pokemon. Like, every generation, you gotta have a bird Pokemon. Number 3. Where the fuck is Snorlax? Where the fuck are you? You should be somewhere around here. Where the fuck are you? It's very tempting to grab Rayquaza. I want to restrict myself from picking up legendary Pokemon, though. So there's the Ghastly. There's there you are. There's Snorlax. There we go. Next up, we get it's so tempting to grab one of the legendary Pokemon, but I don't want to do that. I feel like it's unfair to grab a legendary Pokemon. If I had to pick an evolution, I don't know why Umbreon pops up in my head. And then... Like, so yeah, the reason I'm going for 3rd generation was this is like... There's team builders. Use the home. What home? Oh, Pokemon Home. It's a cloud service for Switch game. Ah, okay. So you could, like, move Pokemon, trade, and update. You can roll into the Pokemon Home Premium. What the shit? There was an option for Home on that team build. Oh, okay. Well, I just picked the generation. So, yeah. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to think who else would I put into... Like, honestly, I'd probably put Mightyena in there. And then... Who would I add? Who would be my favorite? Actually, you know what? I'm missing them. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? There they are. All right, that's my team. That's my team of 6, all right? So Trico because of the starter, Swellow because, you know, it's the bird Pokemon from 3rd region, Snorlax, my fave, Umbreon because of, like, you know, just out of the evolutions, Mightyena is, like, sort of a forget, and then Arcanine is, like, you know, if I could get a Pokemon in real life, it would either be a Growlithe, and depending on the scale, Arcanine. Blue marks tally resistance, immunities, or stab coverage. Red marks tally weakness. Jesus Christ, I am, like, so weak to bugs. Fighting and bugs. And then 2 different kinds of rock type. So my bug resistance is Swellow and Arcanine. None of them are strong against fighting types. And then I got my 3 differences. And I've got, like, some good... resistances to strength. I've got like 2, like, yeah. Oh, you can make him shiny. Shiny. I like the look of shiny Snorlax. And then what's shiny Umbreon? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with this. You really should look up the height of Arcanine Lamau. Hang on. Yeah. Arcanine. Let's have a look. Let's see. How fucking dumb am I for going for a big dog? He is 6 foot. He's 6 foot tall. Please tell me that's length. I'm fine with length because, like, more likely that's measured at the shoulder. 150 kilograms. Watch the vid I sent you. Okay, hang on. I think I've seen this. I think I've seen this short. There's a lot of... Yeah. Okay. I love these. Look at this dog. Look at this big boy. Aww. He's gonna jump over the fence, isn't he? Look at this big boy. Oh, and it's from the official Pokemon as well. That's amazing.
Jiggly, find that kid who's taking...
No. Like, there's so many Pokemon shorts that I love. Whereas, there's another one where it's like the Eevee or something like that, just running like that's just running in the room or something like that. Let me find it real quick. There's a good one. Let me find it. Oh. You found it. Yeah, this one. Look at it. Cuz like Eevee's more like Eevee's not explicitly a dog. It's like, I don't know, it just feels more like fox coat, like way more fox coated than dog coated in my head for whatever reason. Let's see how well you know an Arcanine. Oh, let's have a look.
How well do you know Arcanine? Let's see if you understand the Arcanine assignment. Question 1. How many miles can Arcanine run in a single day and night? 6,200 miles. That means it can do a round trip from New York to Los Angeles in a single day and still has some miles left to spare. Question 2.
Which is
in the
crazy.
Pokédex, what is Arcanine's category? Legendary.
What?
Arcanine is the only Pokemon categorized as a legendary Pokemon that's not actually a legendary Pokemon. Final question.
What?
How many Master Division International Championships has Arcanine won?
3.
5. Arcanine is one of the most successful Pokemon in the history of the video game championships. It's a popular pick thanks to its fire typing, its ability to intimidate, and its access to moves like Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed, and Will-O-Wisp. And every trainer who tuned in will now have 3 more facts to back up their argument the next time someone...
Nice. That's cool. That's cool. But yeah, like, I don't like I feel like the cool thing of Pokemon, like when they decide to like put oh my god, Brian David Gilbert?
I'm Brian David Gilbert, host of the Gotta Catch 'Em All game show, which will be going on live here at Worlds in Anaheim on Saturday night. And then will be a VOD over on YouTube very soon. We'll let you know when. But I'm going to go check out the Pokemon Center and see if we can find all 4 of these victory Pokemon. Shall we? I bet Pikachu's going to be the hardest one to find, probably.
That is very advertisement focused. I thought it was going to be something cooler. Oh my god, this fucking bear. Look at this fucker. So good. All right, sorry, I didn't mean. Oh my god, Jesus Christ, 6 foot, Jesus. How are they doing that measurement? That looks fucking insane. In the Kitamaki, in the Palladia Podex. Nice. So fucking cool though. Master Sex. I know that says Masters EX, but it was so funny when they did the hashtag that it looked like Master Sex instead. It just gives me a chuckle in my head every time. All right. But yeah, I don't have too many Pokemon games, especially on the Switch. I only have like Pokemon Sword or Shield. You can drive Arcanine like a car. That's the solution. I get myself an Arcanine, so then that way I don't need to get a car. I just have this fun little Arcanine, and then, you know, I just have like a little... instead of having like car keys of like, pew, pew, I just like have a little clicker, so then that way, like I get to my place or my work, and I just do a little click, click, give him a little treat, and he runs back home or something like that. So, but yeah, I'm sticking to my Pokemon. This is my team of 6 because of the like, these are available from 3rd generation Emerald, which I very much loved. That was like my last proper full finish of a Pokemon game. That's what I'm sticking to. So, yeah. If anyone else wants to do like their own like Pokemon plan and such like that, I just went to this one. Is it going to the right place? Yeah, it is going to the right place. So yeah, you select your, you know, your version. Oh, it looks like Pokemon Home allows you to go through like all the different Pokemon options and what have you. But yeah, I didn't want to go all the way to Pokemon Home because that's way too many regions. I have not gone through all those regions. Ugh. So, yeah. Excuse me, throat. Also, I'm getting notifications. Battle.net failed, Ubisoft Connect failed, one or more plugins has an update. Ah, okay. Application is required to apply pending updates. Hi there, Izzy! Only now just realizing how a Pokemon world would smell like. If anyone ever had to work at a pet store or shelter, imagine that, but everywhere. Here's the thing, is that there are definitely a number of, like, pets, and, like, here's the thing, is, like, we already have, like, you know, other than Snorlax and Umbreon, Snorlax, Umbreon, and Trico, we already have a lot of these kinds of, like, you know, animals in the real world. Granted, these are, like, very fantasy animals and what have you. I feel like the one that would smell the weirdest would either be Snorlax because of, like, the slothiness of him, or Arcanine because, you know, burnt fur is not a smell that you want to enjoy, is not a smell you want to deal with. You would have a hard time between choosing my Sword and Shield team and my Scarlet Violet team. What the... Once again, it's going into, like, some random playlist instead of sticking into lo-fi. I definitely need to start, like, saving these albums into, like, an actual, like, stream lo-fi or something like that. I don't know what, like, songs I could have, like, playing in the background and such, but I should probably start grabbing, like, yeah, let me just grab Chill Hot Essentials, Time Zone, Space Jazz, and da-da-da-da-da. Snorlax would just be a bear. Is Snorlax a bear? Like, we've got other bears in there. I guess, like, if you try and do, like, an equivalency from, like, first generation, then Snorlax, I guess, would be the bear. Ah. There is a sheep Pokemon, so... he behaves like one, that's the important bit. Yep. 18 years for him to get from sitting down to standing up. Good for him. Where's the thingamadiggy? The 2025 survey is here. So yeah, Sylveon was like one of the top rated. Izzy, what's your favorite Pokemon? Wait, did I pass Snorlax? I think I passed Snorlax at that point. No, I've gone too far. He is not that far. Where is my Snorlax? Slowpoke, Ponyta, Tentacool. I look at them. Nope, he is not that. Where the f... Where the fuck is he? Because this is a very long list, but I can't find my Snorlax. I should remember his number, honestly. It would probably be a lot easier to remember. Like, I don't remember numbers. I'm absolutely terrible at that. Knowing my luck, I've probably even, like, passed him, like, on more than one occasion after going through, like... There he is, 143. There we go. Do not ask. I don't know what a Pokemon is. Bullshit, you don't know what a Pokemon is. You're a furry on the internet who has made all kinds of different furries. You know what a Pokemon is. Biggest lie I've heard so far. I don't know what a I don't know what a Pokemon is. Absolutely despicable. biggest lie I've heard. How's it going, Izzy, by the by? How goes the how goes the blah 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 blah? How goes the arting and what have you? I don't know if I can yap for another hour, I'm gonna be frank with you. I know I told myself like 4 hours, but I'm gonna be frank with you. I don't know if I have it in me to do yapping for another hour. Like, cause I've already shared the good news. It's gonna be still like tight scheduling to get through it all. Excuse me. Where's my brain? Come on, brain. Think. I need to go through my bond. I need to go through training. I forgot to do training back on Friday, so it's probably a better idea to go through the training modules like today. Searches. Update my wish list to include something for like the garage and VR. Yeah, I don't have much. Yeah, I don't have much. Anything else? Major savings, new phone, try and save up for a car. I'm gonna need to pack up some of my stuff, like the console. Here's hoping the moving itself isn't painful. Yeah, I've already like packed some stuff in like the living room and stuff in the kitchen and what have you. My mom and my sister are gonna be helping me this Friday. I'm taking time off work from Friday to next Wednesday in order to help go through as much of the like the moving headache and all that kind of nonsense. I really wish I could get my keys before Tuesday evening. I don't know if I will get it before Tuesday evening, but I'll learn more this Wednesday. Because if I can get it before Tuesday evening, like maybe even Friday evening, that would be really great, because then my sister and mom can then, you know, help me with moving stuff when they come down to help me on Friday, which would be really great. And the sooner I empty out this apartment, the sooner I can do a bond clean. I can probably start getting stuff off the walls so I can actually see what the damage is of, like, the nails and what have you, and... yeah. God. I did a pretty decent job of, like, you know, getting my weight down with the dieting and such, but I've recently been breaking the diet as, like, sort of a mixture of, like, celebration and dating recently. So, like, it's very tempting to, like, keep having my fun and what have you. It wouldn't be great, but would be fun. Also, I'm just, like, clicking everywhere because... there's, like, weird... Where's the little thingamajiggy? Like, do you ever get, like, you know, just debris or, like, dead skin cells on your, like, peripherals, and you're just sort of like, ew, no thank you, and then you just start trying to erase it off? That's where I'm at right now. So yeah, so hopefully the move itself won't be... I need to pick up... I didn't commission. I went to an art auction on the cruise, and the art auction was meant to drop my stuff off to, like, my work. They said they couldn't deliver it to work, which is fucking bullshit. So now I have to go out of my way to, like, a postage shop that isn't anywhere near me or my work in order to pick up some artwork. I'm hoping it's just in tubes. If it's just in tubes, that will be very helpful, especially in regards to moving and what have you. But if it's not in tubes, this is going to be a very awkward travel. I will be able to do that on Monday, though. I will be able to get through that on the Monday. So, Metal Gear Solid 4, I can't do that without a PlayStation 3. Bioshock Infinite, find the time. Need to renew Final Fantasy 14 at some point to get through the more patches. I'm currently going through Crash Bandicoot, which is good. So yeah, I'm probably not going to be streaming for the remainder of the week, just because of, like, you know, save money, save my energies, and actually I need to double check. Did I clean up my schedule because of that? Okay, I'm gonna go on to vacation mode. from thingy until, let's say Friday. There we go. Will it let me save? Yeah. So vacation mode should be good. Yeah, awesome, cool. Alrighty then. Is that gonna be it for me tonight? Or it's not even tonight, it's the morning still. Like, it's only 11:08 right now, but a part of me is like already been like yapping for the last 3 hours, and we went on to like crazy fucking tangent about like Pokemon and such, which was really nice, and I very much appreciated it. So, Lord knows there's like stuff going off in the news and such, but it's like I'm not really interested in like talking about news stuff right now. I'm very much interested in like not having my brain do like too much nonsense and just deal with like the current things on my to-do list. Work training, organizing, maybe I need to, you know, hire a bond cleaner at this point, because there's like 2 weeks before the what's Mahoozy thing, like, but I don't want to hire a bond cleaner when I haven't even gotten my stuff out of the house or a confirmation of when stuff will be out of my house. Like, is it reasonable to wait until Wednesday and then hire a bond cleaner that comes out a week late? Like, what's the latest I can hire a bond cleaner? Same day cleaning available. Oh my god, you can actually do like, so you can actually do like, you know, bond cleaning that's like, you know, end of lease and last minute. That's kind of crazy. Moving on to end of lease cleaning, make your move. Full bond refund. We specialize end of leasing. Okay. I'll need to double check where, wall washing, rubbish removal services. I'll need to double check who the bond cleaner was from my real estate agent, because they're definitely going to have their recommendation of, oh, you should go for this bond cleaner, or you should go for this moving service. Oh my god, there's all these Pokemon. Oh my god, they're doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab with Match of the... Damn. Here's hoping that as I move into a place that's cheaper to rent than the place I'm currently in right now, that I'm going to have like just a tiny bit more savings and more like disposable income here and there to put into like crazy things such as, you know, random video games or peripherals or just maybe even cards or art commissions. Like, here's hoping. Here is hoping. Lord knows how well this will play out. But yeah. Yeah. Give me your positive vibes, chat, for me being able to pick up my apartment keys before February 10th. If you bring that energy out into the universe, whether through, like, you know, just mental hypnosis, prayer, or anything like that, I would greatly appreciate it. I could very much do with, like, you know, a nice serendipity or an extra win here and there. It would be fan-fucking-tastic. Also, I need to do, like, there's, like, little bits and pieces that I need to do. And, like, a part of me is on, like, a really weird waiting mode. And at the same time, it's like, no, I still want to be able to do, like, other things as well to help go forward with the moving. So there's that. But, otherwise, I think at this point, I'm going to have us look at who we can go and raid, because I got nothing else in my brain. I've shared the news that I wanted to share. I'm not really interested in going into, like, especially at this hour, going into, like, a long tirade about, like, you know, the recent, like, you know, Steam getting sued in the UK, like, courts and such like that because of unfair pricing and monopolistic, like, you know, practices and what have you. Because quite frankly, like, my gut reaction is like, hell yeah, no corporation should ever feel warranted of, like, we shouldn't have been sued or anything like that. And there is clearly a lot of people that are, like, sort of, like, there's like a spectrum of people that are like, oh yeah, Steam should definitely be met in the courts, but not for this thing. And then there are other people that are like, oh, this is just fucking bullshit because Steam doesn't do monolithic practices, and how can they be unfair when I'm getting all these great discounts on video games? It's like, some of us are not going to be looking at this, you know, at this, court case with like, a fair view and what have you. So I would like to try and get my facts straight as to like what explicitly they're pursuing, what they saw in 2024, and what the actual problems with Steam are and such. Because in my brain, Steam is fucking monolithic. Like they are, dictating the market. And some people are like, oh, but they're just the only good ones out there. And it's like, that doesn't sound like a fucking coincidence when you're the biggest one out there. And just because you're like morally good doesn't mean you should be excused from the label of monopolies. If we cared about moral good, they wouldn't be a business. But yeah. Let's see. We got a number of different people doing some crazy just chattings. Let's see. Actually, who am I? So we got someone named Winter Tiger doing some. We got a number of people doing all kinds of things. Let me just have a look at like, my Twitch. Let's see. Who are they showing in like my follows doing things and what have you? Ooh, Unnamed looks to be doing some texturing and 3D models, actually. Let's see. How long ago did they just... Oh, wait, no. Sashera... Sash is streaming? You streaming, Sash? Where's Sash? Where's Sash? There they are. Oh, my goodness. And you didn't tell me you were gonna be streaming, Sash? We gotta correct that. Let me limit it to people I'm following. We are gonna go raid into Sashera. Give me a minute. I just need to scroll down. Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. We gotta go raid into Sashera, chat. Chat, if you got this Australian streamer, they're streaming again. Yep. Where you at? Yep. I reckon that will be our yep. Where you at? Yep. I reckon that will be our raid message. Let me just really quickly add the emotes that I am going to be using. If you want to use whatever kinds of other emotes you want, you're more than happy to. I will not stop you. I will be ending the stream here. A nice 3-hour long stream, I think, is a really decent length of time in regards to, doing the whatsamahoozy, doing the just chatting. I reckon was really good. I will not be back online this week as I get, into more of a cadence of trying to get through the rest of my moving and such. Wednesday, I hope I'll learn about being able to pick up my keys sooner. Friday, my mom and my sister are going to help me pack up. Maybe we'll be able to move. Who knows? And then next week after that, Tuesday, late afternoon, pick up the keys. Hopefully sooner than that. And then Wednesday is my last day in this place and new day at the new place. But otherwise, I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.